Chapter 2153. After Yi Tianyun brought out the giant beast puppet, he quickly hid inside its body. He could finally rest in peace. Even if the giant divine beast was in front of him, it would not be able to recognize him. Unless Yi Tianyun ordered the giant beast puppet to act recklessly or offend the giant divine beast, there would be no problem. He had the charm beast's memories, so he knew what to do and what not to do here. As long as he did not do it on purpose, there would be no problem. Soon, he quickly went deep into the giant divine beast domain. There was a gathering place here, but there were rarely any giant beasts gathering there. Giant beasts were not social species. They were scattered all over the place. However, if a superior giant beast gathered a little, the nearby giant beasts would quickly rush over. For example, the giant armored bear. If they gathered a little, a large number of giant beasts would swarm over and obey their orders. As a result, there would usually not be any giant beasts gathering in this area. The giant beasts did not have high spiritual intelligence. They did not know how to forge weapons or concoct elixirs. As a result, apart from offering some mature divine medicines, they would usually stay near the giant divine beast domain. If Yi Tianyun wanted to go deep inside, he would have to prepare divine medicines and offer them. Otherwise, he would not even have the chance to enter the gate. Even if the giant beast puppet's cultivation reached the star venerable level, it would be the same. Only if it broke through to the grand star venerable level could it stay inside. Or if it was a giant beast in a metamorphosis state, it could stay inside. Ordinary giant beasts could only be described as stupid. The giant divine beasts and the others would not associate with them. Although they were companions, they were divided into different levels. If they were of different levels, they could not stay in this area. After learning about this, Yi Tianyun was not surprised. Such a strict system was actually no different from the imperial palaces in the lower realms. Those with high cultivation or who had made contributions could stay in the imperial palace or nearby areas. Ordinary people and cultivators could only stay outside. Anyone who dared to enter would be killed on the spot. Soon, he arrived at the inner part of the city of giant beasts. This place was simply surrounded by thick walls, indicating that no one could trespass here. Two giant star venerable beasts were standing outside the gate, staring at the giant beasts that were going in. If those giant beasts didn't come in with spiritual herbs, they would be driven out. Yi Tianyun took out a few matured spirit herbs and placed them on top of his head before joining the queue. When he entered, the guardian beast only glanced at him briefly and then ignored him, allowing him to enter. After entering, the situation of the city of giant beasts came into view. The interior was also very simple and crude, and there was nothing special about it. As for the grand formation layout, there was even less of it, but it was enough to scare people to death. This place was filled with all kinds of spirit stones condensed with different kinds of essences. The high-grade fire crystal stone, the high-grade 5-colored divine stone, and the wood crystal stone were all of high grade. Now, it was like garbage, piled up all over the place. It was so dazzling that Yi Tianyun couldn't even keep his eyes open. He had never seen such a bold and unrestrained thing. Those treasures were piled up everywhere, as if they were garbage. Actually, they weren't being thrown away. They were being placed here casually, and when they wanted to use them, giant beasts would move them in. To put it bluntly, the giant beasts carrying the spiritual herbs here were just walking around. They couldn't enter the real area inside. The crystals were piled up randomly, but the spiritual herbs would be brought in immediately. They wouldn't be placed outside. If they were placed outside, their effects would be affected. So, they would be moved inside quickly. As for the crystals, they were piled up randomly. Only some precious materials and relatively stable ores were piled up there. They were piled up like a mountain. It was like they were using this place as a warehouse, piling them up randomly. No wonder the giant beasts weren't allowed to come in casually. What if some giant beasts swallowed the crystals crazily? When some giant beasts went crazy, they wouldn't listen to any orders. By the time they were stopped, they would have swallowed quite a lot. That would be a huge loss. How casual. But there aren't any buildings here, so it's normal to pile them up randomly. Yi Tianyun looked up. Actually, There was a huge cave behind the city walls. They all lived in the mountain range, which had a unique environment. The surrounding energy was very rich, which was good for improving their cultivation. When I leave, I will definitely take these things with me. I can't let them go. Yi Tianyun was envious when he saw the pile of materials. These could be used to forge weapons or use for cultivation. They were of limited use to him, but to his subordinates, they were good stuff. Some of them could be used to strengthen his own equipment. They were still very useful. He just took a casual look and queued up to place the spiritual herbs. After he finished placing the spiritual herbs, he could basically get lost. Everything was so simple, and he didn't even get paid. It seemed very heartless, but in fact, he had already given them rewards. Basically, he could eat the spiritual herbs freely. He just had to remember to pay for the excess. There weren't many giant beasts in the first place. They were much fewer than the cultivators. They basically couldn't finish the spiritual herbs here, so they had to pay for the excess. When they paid a certain amount, they would focus on training them, such as transforming. You idiots, put the spiritual herbs properly. Don't put them in such a mess. I've told you so many times, but you still don't understand. You're so stupid. At this moment, a cultivator in front of them kept cursing the giant beasts. Yi Tianyun looked over. He didn't even need the appraisal eye to know who that guy was. He was a transformed dragon ant beast in the late stage of Star Venerable Realm. He was a talented giant beast. After training, he would transform into a state with high spiritual intelligence. It didn't mean that one had to be a Grand Star Venerable to transform. Of course, that was impossible. Although there were spiritual herbs everywhere in the entire giant divine beast realm, there were only 5 Grand Star Venerables. Including the giant divine beasts, there were only 5. 2 of them had been killed by him, so there were 3 left. Grand Star Venerables weren't cabbages. They didn't have Star Dharma forms, so they didn't need to increase their level. However, they needed a lot of energy to break through. After being scolded, the giant beasts could only shake their heads and go back to placing the spiritual herbs obediently. Some of the more stupid ones just shook their heads and threw the spiritual herbs far away, almost over the city walls. This made the dragon ant beasts curse again. But how could those giant beasts understand? Chapter 2154. The dragon ant beast was still scolding them, asking them to place the spiritual herbs in the appropriate area. However, there were still many foolish beasts who could not control their strength well and threw the spiritual herbs far away. This made him extremely angry. How stupid. I've told you again and again, but none of you will change. The dragon ant beast glared at them angrily. No matter how he tried to teach them, it was useless. Giant beasts were giant beasts after all. They did not have good control over their own strength, and their intelligence was too low. Soon, it was Yi Tianyun's turn. Then, he tossed the spiritual herb on his head to the side and threw it into the pile of spiritual herbs in front of him. The dragon ant beast was very satisfied because it did a good job. It took another look at Yi Tianyun. You're ugly, but you have good control over your strength. Try again. Yi Tianyun was startled, but he still did as he was told. He tossed the other spiritual herbs to the side, and they landed smoothly on the empty ground. Your control is really not bad. Give me another try. The dragon ant beast gestured again. Yi Tianyun did the same. He easily tossed the spiritual herbs to the empty ground, and they piled up neatly. To him, this was naturally not the slightest bit of difficulty. His control over the giant beast's body was naturally very precise. Not bad. The dragon ant beast's eyes lit up, and it said with a smile, "You're considered the most agile among all the foolish giant beasts. Stay here and help me. I just happen to need your help to organize things." Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He was just about to ask how he could sneak in, but this fellow immediately invited him in. It was really easy. Soon after, Yi Tianyun came to the dragon ant beast's side and nodded slightly, indicating that he was willing. The other giant beasts roared, indicating that they also wanted to join. You fools still want to join? If you're at the same level as him, I'll keep you here. The dragon ant beast snorted and gestured for them to perform. The rest of the beasts did the same, but none of them were as accurate as Yi Tianyun's. They were still slightly off the mark. As long as it wasn't too far off, he would be happy. Most of it was thrown to another location. How stupid. You still want to join us? If I really let you guys join, you'll just be causing trouble for me. The dragon ant beast waved its hand in exasperation. It had thought that it would be able to recruit a few more people, but who knew that it would still be a bunch of idiots? After trying a few more, the standard was the same. None of them were as accurate as Yi Tianyun. Go and help me move those crystals in. Don't break them, understand? If you break it, I'll kill you and eat you. The dragon ant beast began to order Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun immediately went to work, moving the piles of crystal stones. His huge body could carry a large pile at once. Since the Ultralisks did not have any inner worlds, they basically had to carry everything on their backs. Metamorphosing Ultralisks also did not have any inner worlds, but they could use treasures and the like. Hence, moving things was relatively easy. However, they were too lazy to move, so they just let their subordinates help them. The dragon ant beast did not want to do it here, but there was no other way. If there was no one to watch over them, it would definitely be a mess. Yi Tianyun controlled the Ultralisk's puppet and began to move the crystal stones. Then, he went directly into the cave. There was a corresponding storage area in the cave. They were just piled up a little outside the cave, not really piled up there all the time. Now, he could easily walk inside. However, the situation inside was not that there were no guards. There were also many Ultralisks acting as guards, and they were guarding the place tightly. They were not afraid of enemies barging in, but they were completely guarding against their own people. Previously, there had been some Ultralisks who could not control their beastly nature. They had charged in and devoured the spirit herbs and crystal stones wantonly, resulting in huge losses. They did not think that cultivators would barge in. They were afraid that they would be easily dealt with before they could even get close. Soon, Yi Tianyun found the area where the crystal stones were stored. There were Ultralisks guarding the area outside. When they saw Yi Tianyun carrying a pile of crystal stones in, they did not stop him. After all, there were many Ultralisks who carried crystal stones in like him. There were still many Ultralisks who mainly did this work. After Yi Tianyun moved the things in, he saw piles of crystal stones that were like mountains. There were countless of them, and they were really extravagant. Not bad. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He controlled the Ultralisk's puppet to pour the crystal stones on the ground bit by bit. At the same time, he quickly rushed out of the Ultralisk's puppet's body, concealed his aura, and collected the crystal stones in a frenzy. In less than a short while, more than half of the crystal stones had been collected, and only a small portion was left here. Basically, from the entrance, it looked like a mountain of crystal stones. In reality, most of the mountain had been hollowed out, and only a layer of skin was left on the outside. Visually, there was nothing missing. After collecting, Yi Tianyun quickly returned to the Ultralisk's puppet's body. Everything was silent. At this moment, the Ultralisk's puppet finished pouring out the crystal stones and continued to move them. There were many things that he needed to move. Not only the crystal stones, but also the spirit herbs. The dragon ant beast did not suspect anything. Although the Ultralisks were inflexible and had low spiritual intelligence, they were absolutely obedient to their superiors. They would follow whatever orders were given. This was also why the dragon ant beast would find some Ultralisks with better spiritual intelligence to be its movers. Little did they know that the dragon ant beast had invited a wolf into its house. Moreover, a ferocious wolf would not even know that it had moved everything away. Not bad. The harvest this time is shocking. There's even the 10,000 emperor flower. Previously, Yi Tianyun had thought that there was no 10,000 emperor flower. Now that he had found the 10,000 emperor flower, he had even found other good rare spirit herbs. He had to admit that he had made the right decision to come this time. Even if he turned around and left now, he would have profited greatly. Although he did not seriously injure the Ultralisks, at least he had made a huge profit. To put it bluntly, without so many resources, the speed at which the Ultralisks increased their cultivation would be much slower. He could foresee the expressions of the Ultralisks when they saw that more than half of everything had been moved away. How furious would that be? After moving everything away, Yi Tianyun did not continue to wait outside. Instead, he walked straight inside. This time, he was no longer worried about being discovered. Even if he was discovered, he would escape immediately. There was no point in staying here. After moving so many things, he did not come here in vain. Hence, he could go in and investigate the situation. Chapter 2155. Yi Tianyun did not directly control the giant beast puppet to go in. Instead, he let the giant beast puppet go out while he sneaked in. No matter what, the giant beast puppet was a good spy and could be buried here as his own informant. He directly came out with his main body, then concealed his figure and snuck in. With the charm beast's memories, he treated this place like his home, so he did not need the giant beast puppet to bring him in. Moreover, he only needed to sneak in, so the rest was much easier. There might be a few more informants outside, so it would not be easy to sneak in. It would be much easier after he came in. Although the security inside would be even tighter, he did not care about the final outcome now. If he was discovered, he would just have to escape. In any case, he had already made a huge profit here, so it was not a loss. When he escaped, he could also kill a large number of giant beasts, so it was not a loss either. His ultimate goal in coming in was not to kill the giant divine beasts, but to make a killing and cause some damage. With his perfect concealment ability, he easily snuck in without much effort. There were many giant beasts on the way, but their cultivation levels were relatively low, so he could easily sneak past them. When he went deeper, he entered a completely different area. The decorations here were quite exquisite, similar to the area where ordinary cultivators stayed, except that the buildings were built with more precious crystals. Rooms were built here, and at a glance, it was a very luxurious type. It was obvious that there were giant beasts coming and going here, but these giant beasts had all undergone metamorphosis, so they looked no different from cultivators on the outside. Once they erupted, they could return to their giant beast form, and their power was astonishing. This could be considered a rather perfect evolution, much better than their previous state. The main thing was that there had been a lot of evolution in their spiritual wisdom. This allowed them to start cultivating martial arts, star runes, and the like. This was definitely not good news for cultivators. The giant beasts were originally enemies. If they were very friendly, it would not be a problem. However, they were extremely savage, so it was different. There are really a lot of giant beasts that have undergone metamorphosis. Although Yi Tianyun already knew everything from the charm beast's memories, he couldn't help but feel shocked when he saw the situation in front of him. There were many giant beasts here, at least several hundred of them. The weakest among them was a Star Lord, while most of them were Star Venerables. This number was truly shocking. These metamorphosed giant beasts were all important targets for nurturing. In the future, they would be the focus of the expansion of the region. At least from the looks of it, they could easily sneak into a cultivator tribe. As long as they did not unleash too much power, basically no one would know that their true form was a giant beast. This was undoubtedly a sign of danger. Once they got out, it would definitely be very dangerous. Yi Tianyun stealthily walked in. When he passed by some rooms, he was assaulted by the smell of blood. He frowned and turned to look into the room. What he saw was a metamorphosed giant beast gnawing on a cultivator. The cultivator could no longer move. He could only let the giant beast gnaw on him and swallow his essence blood. It's the heavenly tiger tribe. Yi Tianyun's heart sank. He sneaked in quietly. The giant beast didn't even notice him coming in. Before the giant beast noticed Yi Tianyun, it was cut in two with his knife. A star venerable giant beast died just like that. Its cultivation was much lower than Yi Tianyun's, so it didn't even have a chance to notice him. The heavenly tiger tribe member, who was desperate and angry, was left alone. He was petrified when he saw the giant beast being cut in two. He didn't know what had happened. A second ago, the giant beast was still gnawing on its own flesh. In the next second, it was cut in two. What he saw was Yi Tianyun's ice-cold face. "It's all right." Yi Tianyun waved his hand, and a healing energy engulfed the heavenly tiger tribe member. After a while, the heavenly tiger tribe member could at least move and speak, even if he didn't recover completely. Thank you for saving me. The Heavenly Tiger tribe member was extremely grateful. Then he looked at Yi Tianyun and said with confusion, "By the way, what's going on? Has the giant divine beast's territory been breached?" He knew he was in the territory. There was only one possibility that someone had come to save him. The giant divine beast's territory had been breached. This was undoubtedly good news for him. "No, I snuck in," Yi Tianyun said, shaking his head. "You don't have to say anything else. Just hide in my space. I'll check along the way and see if anyone can save you." The Heavenly Tiger tribe member was struck dumb, but he didn't say anything else. He nodded and agreed. Soon, Yi Tianyun took him into the living creature space. Then he turned around and left stealthily. His expression became solemn. He had some memories about this from the charm beast's memory, but there were only a few of them. Now, he was witnessing them gnawing on the clansmen of the various tribes. It was a little irritating. The strong preyed on the weak. He acknowledged this point. But very regrettably, he was in the cultivator camp. Hence, he stood on the cultivator's side. Who knew when his friends and family would be gnawed on by giant beasts one day? Soon after, he sneaked all the way over. Along the way, he really saw many houses with giant beasts gnawing on the clansmen of various tribes. They were absorbing the blood essence inside to replenish their own needs, so that they could transform even more perfectly. He harvested all these kinds of situations, basically killing his way over. Under such circumstances, he already lost count of how many giant beasts he had killed. It could be said that if he was discovered by the giant divine beast, it would really be enraged. It had painstakingly nurtured successfully to transform, but it was killed by him. How could it not be enraged? Yi Tianyun was very calm, not worried in the slightest that he would be discovered. He knew that the location of the giant divine beast was not in this area, but in a very deep area. As long as the situation was not very serious and affected the giant divine beast would not detect it, let alone go and detect it casually. Very soon, many giant beasts in this area were harvested by him. Some that were not here were not harvested. Here, he saved many clansmen of the tribes and kept them into the living creature space. At the same time, he also found the area where the clansmen of the tribes were imprisoned and rescued them. These clansmen all had relatively more outstanding and rich bloodlines. It was no wonder that they were captured. It's about time. It's time to head to the giant divine beasts area. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. There was nothing else he could do for the time being. Chapter 2156. Yi Tianyun had basically saved all the tribesmen. If there were any left, they were either dead or brought to some corner. He had only saved them in passing, but it had to be said that there were quite a lot of people. Adding them up, there were hundreds of them. These people had rather rich talents and bloodlines, and the giant beasts chose them to capture. They only wanted the ones with rich bloodlines, regardless of cultivation. Hence, there were people as young as newborns and as old as thousands of years old. They all had relatively high bloodlines, which were easy for them to absorb. They had gone to great lengths to capture them, and now they were all taken away by Yi Tianyun. If the giant divine beast knew of the situation, it would fly into a rage. However, what angered the giant divine beast the most was definitely that many of its subordinates had been killed. That was the most infuriating thing. He could foresee the true wrath of this giant divine beast. It probably wished that it could swallow him alive. Now, he planned to do something that would make the giant divine beast even more furious, and that was to launch a ruthless sneak attack on it. If the sneak attack succeeded, the giant divine beast would either be seriously injured or dead. If the sneak attack failed, the giant divine beast would also suffer a huge loss. No matter what, it would be the most profitable. Unless the giant divine beast killed him, that would be another story. The problem was that possible? Yi Tianyun had made a foolproof plan. With the super teleportation divine stone in hand, he could ignore all restrictions. Who could stop him? With his perfect infiltration, Yi Tianyun quickly reached the deeper interior. After passing through layers of guards, he finally arrived at the area where the giant divine beast was Giant God Palace. The environment of Giant God Palace did not seem special in terms of structure. The biggest difference was that the vitality was very rich. The location chosen was quite good. As far as the eye could see, this road was filled with spirit herbs. This was the most peculiar part. Both sides of the road were filled with spirit herbs, and there was even a stream that continuously emerged from the ground to water these spirit herbs. What a grand gesture! The giant divine beasts really know how to enjoy themselves. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He felt that the area that the giant divine beasts had set up for himself was truly top-notch. So many spirit herbs were spread out here. At a casual glance, they were all heavenly star level 3 and above. This was the benefit of abundant resources. One could be truly capricious. If it was any other palace, they wouldn't dare to do this. They didn't even have enough food for themselves, so where would they find the extra food to fill up the entire palace? How could Yi Tianyun let go of the spirit herbs along the way? He easily harvested them, leaving not a single blade of grass behind. All of them were swept away by him, and not a single one was left. He was just that simple and crude. If there was something, he would take it. He would never let go of any benefits. As he swept his way, he soon arrived at the innermost gate. There were no guards in front of this gate, and it was tightly shut. If he wanted to enter, he needed to know the corresponding method. Coincidentally, Yi Tianyun knew this method. He had obtained the memories of the charm beast, so it was easy for him to enter. Immediately after, he quickly patted it continuously, and the star patterns on it began to flicker, followed by a rumbling sound, and the door slowly opened. As soon as he opened a crack, Yi Tianyun immediately felt a rich and explosive life force pouring out of it, making him feel comfortable all over. After opening an opening that was big enough for him to enter, he quickly went in sideways and closed the door again. At this moment, what came into view was a boundless field of spirit herb. Many familiar spirit herbs were planted on the side. For example, the golden god grass or the 10,000 emperor flower could be found everywhere. If news of this spread, it would definitely cause a riot among the cultivators of scarlet moonstar or wild dragon star. This was equivalent to a treasure trove of spirit herbs. There were so many spirit herbs, and many of them could be used to increase the level of one's star dharma powers. How could this not be attractive? However, as soon as he entered, he was immediately stared at by 2 pairs of eyes. You killed so many of my subordinates in my territory, and you still dare to come in? A deep voice was mixed with anger. The one who spoke was none other than the giant divine beast. These words meant that he knew that Yi Tianyun was causing trouble outside, and he was very clear about it. Yi Tianyun was not surprised. He waved his hand without hesitation, and the surrounding spirit herbs began to be absorbed into his star ring. Even though he was discovered, he did not let go of the spirit herbs around him. These were rather precious spirit herbs. Perhaps they were useless to him, but at least they were very useful to his people. Even if they were useless, why not take them? He was not nervous at all about the giant divine beast's words. If he was found out, so be it. This was the giant divine beast's territory, so it was normal for him to be found out. The important thing was that the giant divine beast still did not go out to kill him. This meant that the giant divine beast could not move around casually, and could only stay in this area. He took a few more steps forward, and the situation in front of him immediately came into view. A middle-aged man was sitting on a lotus platform, and traces of life force were constantly entering his body. This life force was constantly making flesh grow on the surface of his body, and it looked like he was reconstructing his body. He was the giant divine beast, a giant divine beast that was undergoing metamorphosis. He was using the surging life force around him to rapidly reconstruct his body. Although the life force was very dense, the speed of reconstruction was still very slow, like a snail. There were so many spirit herbs around him, and they were purely providing him with life force. Regardless of whether it was the spirit herbs placed outside or the spirit herbs placed here, they were all used to reconstruct his body. It had to be said that this was really an extravagant behavior. Some of the effects of spirit herbs were not used to reconstruct the body, and they did not even have any healing effects. For example, the golden divine grass and the 9 revolution star grass were not used to reconstruct the body, and he was just directly using the life force contained within them. This was undoubtedly the most disadvantageous. It was like using spirit herbs not for cultivation or healing, but purely for the feeling of having a full meal. In this way, he could not even unleash his own value. To the giant divine beast, this was the best effect. As long as it could provide help to him, it was the best spirit herb. Now, there was only a thin layer of flesh on his body, and most of it had not taken shape. No wonder he could not go out and intercept him. In this state, a slight movement would affect his recovery speed, and it might even cause damage to his body. Now, even if Yi Tianyun came in front of him, he did not make a move immediately. This showed the problem. However, the giant divine beast was even more shocked in its heart. Although it could not be seen on the surface, it was very shocked in its heart. Only a few people knew how to open this door, so how could Yi Tianyun open it? Now was a critical period for him, and he did not want to make a move. Chapter 2157. The giant divine beast looked very weak. Its physical body was not even complete. However, Yi Tianyun did not dare to act rashly. Even so, he was not absolutely confident that he could kill the giant divine beast. The data displayed by the appraisal eye was the best proof. Giant divine beast, late star venerable cultivation base. Currently reconstructing its physical body for the third time. Its body is close to perfection. Its bones and physical body have reached the peak of the galaxy grade. Half of its physical body has not been reconstructed yet. However, it can still unleash a powerful force. Its grade is extremely dangerous. It is recommended to leave. The data of the appraisal eye had never been wrong. This meant that the giant divine beast was very powerful. Even if it looked like it only had a layer of skin, it would be extremely fierce when it attacked. Of course, the price that the giant divine beast had to pay would not be too low. For example, the reconstructing speed would be much slower, or it would have to start all over again. Otherwise, the giant divine beast would have gone berserk long ago. Why would it sit there and watch him like a fool? I don't know how you came in, but do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? The giant divine beast said coldly, I'll give you a choice now. Get out of here. Otherwise, I'll let you know what death feels like. The giant divine beast's eyes emitted a ray of light that penetrated towards Yi Tianyun. He slapped the ray of light away with a backhand. With a boom, a shallow pit was blasted into the wall. It seemed that the structure here was very sturdy and could not be destroyed so easily. Don't be so agitated. I'm just here to take a look. Yi Tianyun shrugged. Don't be agitated, and don't get angry. I'm just strolling around for a while and picking some spirit herbs. That's not too much, right? I'll say it one last time. Either die or get lost. The giant divine beast's eyes were cold. Its surroundings started to shake. It seemed like it was really going to attack. I already said, don't be agitated. You don't want to waste so much time reconstructing your physical body, right? Even if you kill me, I believe that you'll have to reconstruct your physical body again. By then, the time and the price won't be low. Most importantly, it might even affect the transformation of your current body. Yi Tianyun had a look of persuasion on his face. He looked at him with concern and said, I really didn't mean anything else. I just happened to come in for a stroll. Who knew you were here? You're a dignified gigantic divine beast. I can provoke anyone but you, right? The giant divine beast's eyes were cold. After weighing the pros and cons, it said coldly, scram after plucking the spirit herbs. Thank you. I'll leave once I'm done harvesting. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and quickly began to harvest the spirit herbs. His methods were quite ruthless. How was he harvesting spirit herbs? He harvested wave after wave of spirit herbs. No matter how dense the spirit herbs were, it was as if he was harvesting chives. He easily took away a large amount of spirit herbs. After the scroll was taken away, the life force released by the giant divine beast's lotus platform immediately weakened. It was obvious that Yi Tianyun's harvesting of spirit herbs greatly affected the speed at which his body was reconstructed. Enough. The giant divine beast was enraged. He thought that Yi Tianyun was only harvesting a few. Who knew that just as he agreed, Yi Tianyun swept away a large piece like grass. How could he not be enraged? I only took away a small piece. Do you have to be so distressed? Don't you have a lot here? Really too stingy. If you made a move on me, do you think this small piece could make up for it? Yi Tianyun said with assurance. The giant divine beast stared at him and did not answer his words. However, it looked like it tacitly agreed. Yi Tianyun similarly did not stand on ceremony. He swept over again and swept away a large piece of spirit herbs. He was much more ferocious than before. That's enough. The giant divine beast gritted his teeth and roared angrily. A powerful sound wave swept over here. However, it was useless against Yi Tianyun. The effect was negligible. What do you mean by that? It's far from enough. Don't be so stingy. You're a dignified giant divine beast. You control a large area of giant divine beasts. When the time comes, can't you find me? Yi Tianyun continued harvesting. This time, he did not even stop. The giant divine beast was about to explode. He was a dignified giant divine beast. When had he ever suffered such vexation? He watched helplessly as the enemy not only killed many of his subordinates, but also swaggered in front of him to harvest spirit herbs. This kind of humiliation was definitely something he had never endured before. He still did not make a move. He thought that if he made a move, it might not be easy to settle things. He could only hope that Yi Tianyun would quickly finish harvesting and leave. However, he endured again and again. Yi Tianyun's actions became more and more excessive. Almost half of the spirit herbs in the surroundings were swept away. The life force released by the lotus platform he sat on was rapidly reduced by half. Almost half. Almost half of the spirit herbs here have been swept away by you. The giant divine beast roared angrily again. He almost made a move. Not even half. I'll leave after taking half. I'll really leave after taking half. Yi Tianyun added and continued harvesting. The giant divine beast's eyes were almost spewing flames. He could only forcefully endure. Half it was then, he could only endure to this extent. Right now, he wanted to quickly reconstruct his physical body and capture Yi Tianyun. Not only would he take back those spirit herbs, but he also wanted to torture Yi Tianyun ruthlessly. He had thought about this from the beginning. He could not tolerate someone killing his subordinates and harvesting so many spirit herbs, and then letting him live. This was impossible. He had planned to torture Yi Tianyun ruthlessly from the beginning and take back everything with interest. Soon, Yi Tianyun is about to harvest half of the herbs. Half of the herbs that were originally dense here have become bare, leaving only some water flowing in the stream. However, he did not stop when he was halfway through. He continued harvesting crazily. His speed suddenly increased, and his harvesting speed was much faster than before. This time, Yi Tianyun was truly harvesting with all his might. He was just testing the giant divine beast's patience earlier. There was no need for that now. He knew that the giant divine beast's limit was probably half. If he continued, it would affect too much. It was not worth it at all. Therefore, when the giant divine beast thought that everything was over, he suddenly increased his speed and harvested a small portion of the spirit herbs. He then continued harvesting more. The giant divine beast could not react in time. It did not seem to think that Yi Tianyun would really dare to continue harvesting. You're courting death. The giant divine beast was completely enraged. It slammed its hand on the ground and bounced toward Yi Tianyun. However, it did not use its full strength. It used a strength that would not affect its own condition. Yi Tianyun ignored the giant god beast and continued to harvest the giant god beast. When the giant god beast's palm was about to hit him, Yi Tianyun quickly backhanded the long moon azure dragon sabers. Domineering dragon aura swept towards the giant god beast. After repelling them, he quickly reaped the harvest, not daring to stop for even a moment. Chapter 2158. Yi Tianyun had naturally focused on spirit herbs from the start. Not only could he collect a batch of spirit herbs, but he could also suppress the giant divine beast. He knew it was not easy to fight the giant divine beast, but if he took away all the spirit herbs, the giant divine beast would need a long time to recover. This would buy him a lot of time. He did not know this was a horse region, but it was a good choice to cause some trouble for the giant divine beast. Stop. The giant divine beast roared angrily and swung its palm over. It still did not use its full strength. It simply used a little of its own strength. It was just a little stronger than before. It did not want to hurt its body, as it would be very troublesome to recover. As Yi Tianyun said, if it messed around, it would have to start all over again. It would take a long time to rebuild its body. It could not tolerate this. It had already gone crazy staying here. It had always wanted to go out, but it could not. Now that it had to start all over again, it was as furious as it could get. Yi Tianyun swung his saber to block the giant divine beast's palm. Boom! Yi Tianyun was sent flying. He only spun a little in the air and continued to harvest the spirit herbs in front of him with the momentum. No matter how the giant divine beast attacked, he simply blocked it. He did not plan to fight it head-on. It was not necessary. His goal was to collect all the spirit herbs here. It did not matter what happened after he harvested them all. Damn it, the giant divine beast said furiously, you are seeking your own death. The giant divine beast was really furious. If it did not explode, all its spirit herbs would be harvested. How would it recover then? The next moment, the giant divine beast's body expanded rapidly. The power in its body burst out. The peak late-stage Grand Star Venerate power gushed out from its bones. The entire skeleton contained the power of a wild beast. It even flickered with a golden light. A huge ferocious beast appeared behind it. Upon closer inspection, it was a jade soul beast. The jade soul beast was a special kind of giant beast. Its entire body was made of jade. By devouring jade stones and the like, he could increase his cultivation and strength, and his defense would be even more heaven-defying. This was the true form of the giant divine beast, the jade soul beast. Because it was a jade soul beast, its skeleton was equivalent to being made out of jade. It was a rather sturdy type. Thus, even though only the skeleton was left, its power was still astonishing. Die for me. As the jade soul beast completely erupted, it stretched out its hand and released a celestial river-grade martial art. Jade soul palm. A huge jade-like hand appeared in the void and slammed toward Yi Tianyun. The jade-like hand also had the ability to extract souls. Yi Tianyun was stunned. Yi Tianyun was stunned. Apart from being able to devour jade stones, the jade soul beast could also devour souls. After devouring souls, he could strengthen his own soul and even absorb memories from them. Perhaps it wasn't as heaven-defying as Yi Tianyun's super soul search, but at least it was much stronger than an ordinary soul search. No wonder it could become a giant divine beast. With just these two abilities, it was enough to stand above the rest of the beast. It's really powerful. Let's give it a try. Yi Tianyun laughed loudly and quickly burst out all his power. Almost all the moves that he could use to break out of his body burst out. For example, the Starlight Deity blessing, as well as various other blessings, all of them came crashing down. The long moon azure dragon saber whistled and shone brightly. It directly rushed up and collided with the jade soul palm. Boom! A violent explosion erupted in the palace. The powerful jade soul palm continued to press down on Yi Tianyun. The saber light released by the long moon azure dragon saber was broken. Even the body of the long moon azure dragon saber was bent exaggeratedly, as if it would break at any time. The hand that was gripping the long moon azure dragon saber tightly was torn apart by the pressure, revealing the bones of his hand. Yi Tianyun was completely crushed. Whether it was strength or power, he was completely crushed. He still lacked a lot of blessings, and that was the blessings of devouring star power. Without an expert beside him to devour, he really couldn't devour star power from other places to strengthen himself. Of course, he could let the tribesmen in the living space come out and fiercely strengthen him with star power. But he wouldn't do that. If he did that, it would undoubtedly be equivalent to sending those people to their deaths, and they might not even be able to defeat the giant divine beast. This was the best proof. Yi Tianyun quickly retreated, but he still couldn't escape the suppression of the jade soul palm. He couldn't even escape. You still want to escape under my attack? The giant divine beast's eyes were full of disdain. As long as he attacked, he would definitely be able to suppress the enemy. But the corresponding price was that a lot of the flesh that had originally recovered was now shattered by the power, leaving only a body of bones. If he wanted to erupt with a powerful force, there would definitely be a certain amount of counterforce. As a result, the originally not very stable flesh was shattered. It didn't cause any harm to him, but the flesh that he had spent a lot of time to recover was wasted just like that. Not only was it a waste of time, but it also wasted a lot of resources. In order to be able to stop Yi Tianyun, he could only risk his life. Of course you still want to escape. A devilish smile appeared on Yi Tianyun's face. He reached out and gently grasped it. I still have one last gift for you. Enjoy it. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared on the spot. The target that the jade soul palm had locked onto disappeared into thin air. Everything happened so suddenly. The giant divine beast was stunned. Yi Tianyun, who was just in front of him just now, disappeared just like that. More importantly, he still didn't know what Yi Tianyun meant. Just as he came to his senses, a terrifying force suddenly exploded in the surroundings, sweeping out in all directions. This force was released from the array on the ground and swept towards the unharvested elixirs at the side. Many of them were destroyed by this force and turned into a pile of flying ashes. This was a large array that Yi Tianyun had secretly set up when he was harvesting elixirs previously. Perhaps it couldn't cause any harm to the giant divine beast, but at least it could destroy the elixirs that he hadn't harvested. If he wanted to do it, he had to do it to the extreme. If Yi Tianyun couldn't harvest it, he couldn't leave it for the giant divine beast to use. Another explosion sounded, and the entire temple shook. Soon, a figure rushed out and roared, "I'm going to kill you." The giant divine beast went crazy. All the elixirs had been destroyed. If he wanted to set up this kind of environment again, the price he had to pay was too high. He didn't continue to stay here. Instead, he directly rushed out of the temple and chased in all directions. Chapter 2159. Yi Tianyun directly used the super teleportation divine stone and instantly disappeared in the same place, and directly returned to the area where Light Moon Tribe was located. It was worthy of being called the super teleport stone. Even when facing such a strong force, it could easily escape without any hesitation. However, such a treasure could not be bought in bulk. Even the system store did not have the super teleport stone. It was a pity. He could only wait for some missions to obtain the corresponding treasures. Or perhaps, he could kill some experts and obtain the corresponding treasures. In the blink of an eye, he returned to the Shallow Moon Tribe. He had already prepared everything. The Ghana Patriarch and the others were already prepared to escape. Everyone gathered here. They didn't feel the slightest bit of reluctance to leave. They did not want to leave, but facing the giant divine beast, they could not wait to leave. Anyway, they just needed to escape with their small worlds. They could take whatever they wanted with them. They had had enough of living here. No matter how reluctant they were, they had to leave. Yi Tianyun's sudden appearance caused them to surround him. Without waiting for them to get close, Yi Tianyun used the divine jade token to open a passage, and he immediately drilled into it. The passage was not far, so he rushed to the end and exited the passage. Soon, he returned to the previous area. Although it was not the previous area, it was enough to return to the desolate dragon star. After he returned, the passage closed. He did not stop and immediately used the super teleport stone to mark the area. Then, he teleported to the giant divine beast's territory. He did it in one go, without any hesitation. When the Ghana chief and the others saw Yi Tianyun leave, they were dumbfounded. Why did Yi Tianyun suddenly leave? Did something happen? Didn't he say that he would bring them away? Before they could think further, Yi Tianyun's figure appeared in front of them. They were stunned. What was going on? Hurry up and enter my internal space. Yi Tianyun waved his hand and a space-time door appeared in front of them. The Ghana chief and the others did not hesitate and rushed in. They didn't know what was going on, but they knew after listening to Yi Tianyun's orders. Just as he took them into the space within his body, there was a violent vibration above him. In the blink of an eye, the area above his head was ripped open. The skeletal body of the giant divine beast appeared in front of Yi Tianyun just like that. It had only been a short while, and the giant god beast was already here. It was really too fast. It could only be said that this was his territory and he could easily come here. Especially since he knew where the Light Moon tribe was hiding, he could easily kill his way here. Even if Yi Tianyun wasn't here, he would still use this place as an example. He recognized that the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber was definitely in the Shallow Moon tribe's territory, so he rushed over first. As expected, as soon as he arrived, he saw Yi Tianyun. "You're really hiding here. Get over here." The colossal divine beast stretched out its hand, and a powerful suction force enveloped the surroundings. The surrounding rocks and trees were instantly sucked in and turned into dust. This kind of suction force was really shocking. Yi Tianyun had just recovered from his injuries, which was enough to show how fast this colossal divine beast was. This time, the area covered by the giant divine beast was much wider. It had even chosen to lock down time and space, locking down the entire area. It would be extremely difficult to use any treasures to escape. However, Yi Tianyun's treasures were not included. "I'll deal with you after some time." Yi Tianyun grinned, and then disappeared on the spot. No one knew where he went. When the colossal divine beast saw Yi Tianyun disappear just like that, its soul jumped. Its powerful soul had already locked onto Yi Tianyun from all directions. No matter how he moved or how he escaped, it would be able to instantly know and take action. However, Yi Tianyun's escape came without any warning, and it could not detect anything at all. He just disappeared in front of its eyes just like that. This made the colossal divine beast deeply doubt its own detection. Its soul lock was so powerful, but it still could not detect anything. He escaped again. What treasure did he use to escape? The colossal divine beast was about to go crazy. It ran wildly in all directions and began to search for traces of other tribes. But even after flipping all over the place, they still couldn't find any trace of the tribe. Even a single stone had been moved away, let alone the tribe members. As for Yi Tianyun's figure, it was even more difficult to find him. This made the colossal divine beast completely crazy. It had paid such a huge price and even risked damage to its body to chase after Yi Tianyun, but it still could not find him. Not to mention Yi Tianyun, even the other cultivators could not be found. They had disappeared from the colossal divine beast's territory just like that. "Ah! I will definitely find you and eat you." The colossal divine beast roared at the sky. Its body was only left with bones and the soul in its head. In this state, it needed a long time to recover before it could reconstruct its body. In its current state, it probably could not even use its peak strength. It did not know how long it would take for it to recover. By the time it recovered, Yi Tianyun would probably be back to find it. How could Yi Tianyun let go of such a fat sheep? Especially if it was an opposing faction, he would not let it go. On the other side, Yi Tianyun quickly returned to the desolate dragon planet and easily escaped back. However, in this way, he had used up 3 chances. But it was still worth it to bring back so many loyal subordinates. When he thought about the power he controlled, there were more and more experts. It would not take long for him to dominate a region. At least for now, he was invincible in this region. As long as the powerful Great Star Venerables did not come out, his faction would be invincible on the desolate dragon planet. "I just came back, and there are already a few flies. How troublesome." As soon as Yi Tianyun returned, he received a message from the informant he had placed in the ancestral land. It seemed that some family from the Scarlet Moon planet had come over and wanted to take his faction for their own use. They wanted to make it easier for them to control a region. Most importantly, that family was pressuring them, saying that they had many experts and could easily destroy the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land. It seems that the families of the Scarlet Moon planet are really arrogant. I haven't even gone to settle the score with them, but other small families have come to make trouble. It seems that if I don't go out and make trouble, I won't know what I am capable of. Yi Tianyun hadn't broken through to the Great Star Venerable realm before, but now that he had, even if the Mu clan sent someone to deal with him, he wouldn't be afraid anymore. Chapter 2160. You should think about it. If you join our Liu family, we will surely provide you with more resources. It's much better than what you have right now. How many Star Venerables do you have in your faction? According to my investigation, you only have 1 Star Venerable, Heavenly Cloud. A star venerable is nothing on planet Crimson Moon. As long as you join us, we will soon have a second star venerable, let alone a single one. Our resources are beyond your imagination. 5 experts were standing in front of Shi Xueyun and the others. 3 of them were star venerables, while the other 2 were star venerables. It had to be said that they had sent a strong lineup, which was much stronger than the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land. Yi Tianyun had roped in many factions, but most of them were star venerables, and there were no star venerables. This was indeed a little shabby, but in this area, it was indeed enough to show disdain for all heroes. The Heavenly Cloud ancestral land situation was good, which was why they were targeted by the families. They saw that there was potential here, so they came to find a faction to be their puppet, which could help them do many things. No need. We plan to control it ourselves, and we don't want to join any family. Please go back. Shi Xueyun indicated that they could leave. It was a joke to ask them to join these factions. They didn't want to join any faction, as it would put them in a passive position. Especially since these families had come to rope them in, they must have asked them to do something, such as something dangerous. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. They had suddenly come and offered them such good conditions. In this world where benefits were the most important, who would believe that they could get it easily without paying a price? Shi Xueyun and the others didn't want to gamble with their freedom. Moreover, it wasn't necessary. Everything was developing smoothly, and many star venerables would appear in the future. What they needed now was time. They had many star venerables now, and when they slowly broke through to star venerables, their number would increase. We were kind enough to discuss this matter with you, but you rejected us so straightforwardly. Liu Zhixing, who was the leader, frowned. They had a mission, and they were determined to win the people over. They couldn't afford to fail. Now, they had failed after just a few words, which made them very unhappy. Thank you for your kindness. If possible, you can go and find other ancestral lands. They should be willing to join you. Shi Xueyun said apologetically, we have our own plans. We don't intend to join other forces. Shi Xueyun didn't want to make a big deal out of this. What should be eased should be eased. Our Liu family has taken a liking to you. Liu Zhixing said coldly, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Be more direct. Do you want to join our Liu family? If you don't join, then don't blame us for being rude. After the negotiation failed, he immediately changed his attitude. This change in attitude was indeed shocking, but it was not strange. Didn't they bring so many people here just to force their way in? Sirs, is there any meaning in doing this? Even if you forcefully rope us in, do you expect us to serve you loyally? Shi Xueyun was also infuriated. If it weren't for the fact that they were all star venerables, she would have fought them. We don't need your loyalty. We just need you to do something for us. If you do a good job, you will be rewarded handsomely. It's that simple, Liu Zhixing explained. This matter isn't simple, is it? Shi Xueyun frowned. Anyone who wasn't a fool would know that the situation wasn't simple. You don't need to know this. When the time comes, we will give you instructions. You just need to complete them. Liu Zhixing said impatiently, don't be long-winded. Let's sign the contract now. It seems that you think you can do whatever you want just because you are stronger. Shi Xueyun and the others were not weak. Many star venerables stepped forward. Their numbers were quite large. If they really fought, they might not necessarily be at a disadvantage. This was their territory, and they had set up many things. If they really fought, even if they died, their opponents wouldn't have an easy time. That's right. You can do whatever you want just because you are stronger. Liu Zhixing glanced at them coldly and said with a cold smile, do it if you dare. Let's see what kind of moves you have. The gap between the desolate dragon planet and the red moon is not small. Just the small difference is beyond your imagination. TSK, TSK. Your star Dharma Laksana is still at a low level. Do you really think you can fight us with such weak power? A giant dragon lion appeared behind Liu Zhixing. The star power in the sky quickly covered a large area. He was superior to them both in terms of level and power. The level of star Dharma Laksana on the red moon was much higher than here. There were no records of it here. For the Red Moon, it was like an aboriginal planet. Their power immediately exerted pressure. Shishuayun and the others turned pale. They had to admit that they were much weaker than them in terms of momentum. Shishuayun and the others clenched their teeth. They wanted to resist. What? You don't want to admit defeat? If you are so capable, why don't you have more Star Venerables and Great Star Venerables? Liu Zhixing laughed and said, but that's impossible. How can you have so many experts? Oh, what did you say? A familiar figure appeared in their sight. When Shishuayun and the others saw him, they were delighted. Tianyun, you are back. When Shishuayun saw Yi Tianyun come back, she was relieved. As long as Yi Tianyun was back, she would feel at ease. No matter what she faced, she would be confident. Yes, I am back. Don't worry, Yi Tianyun walked over and held her hand. He patted the back of her hand and comforted her. You are Star Venerable Heavenly Cloud. Liu Zhixing looked at him and said, you are not so good. Didn't you hear what I said? We are doing whatever we want. If you are so capable, why don't you use such strong power to exert pressure on us? If you are not, just sit there and don't talk nonsense. No, no, no. I am not as weak as you. Yi Tianyun patted him and said calmly, let them see what power is. Yes, my lord. At this time, a group of experts walked in one after another. First, it was the Jiao family leader, then the Kai Wolf family leader. A series of family leaders and elders walked in. There were at least a dozen Star Venerables. As for the Star Venerables, there were dozens of them. They looked even more domineering. After going through the baptism of the giant beasts, they had a murderous aura. They were much stronger than ordinary cultivators. They had survived dangers, so how could the cultivators here compare to them? Chapter 2161. Liu Zhixing and his companions were scared out of their wits when they saw so many Star Venerables showing up. At first, they didn't think it was a big deal when they saw the first Star Venerable. They thought Yi Tianyun had only invited a Star Venerable to help them, which was useless for them. First one, then two. When the second one appeared, they were still surprised. They wondered where the Star Venerable had come from. Since he could invite two Star Venerables, he must have paid a high price. However, they still didn't think it was a big deal. When the third one appeared, they were shocked. They didn't know Yi Tianyun had paid a high price to invite so many Star Venerables. Wasn't it a great loss? However, more Star Venerables showed up. When there were more than a dozen of them, including dozens of Star Lords, they were completely shocked. Even if they didn't have a Grand Star Venerable, they wouldn't be weaker than a small family on the Red Moon planet. If a Grand Star Venerable came, it would be a great middle-level family. At first, they didn't think it was a big deal. But by then, their eyes were full of shock. Shishuayun and the others were scared when they saw so many Star Venerables. They didn't know where Yi Tianyun had invited so many Star Venerables. What force are you from? We are from the Liu family of the Red Moon planet. You should have heard of us, right? We have Grand Star Venerables in our family. Liu Zhixing's voice was trembling. His previous arrogance was gone. How could he not be nervous when facing so many Star Venerables? The Ghana tribe's patriarch and the others didn't say anything. They just stared at them as if they were looking at a group of monkeys. Liu Zhixing was annoyed. Why didn't anyone say anything? What force are they from? Yi Tianyun shook his head with a smile. Tell them which force you belong to. We will follow your orders, sir. The Ghana tribe's patriarch and the others all knelt down on one knee. All the Star Venerables and Star Lords knelt down on one knee. This scene was really shocking. Liu Zhixing and the others were shocked. So many Star Venerables and Star Lords. How could they be from the Heavenly Cloud Ancestral Land? They knew that the Heavenly Cloud Ancestral Land only had one Star Venerable at most. As for Star Lords, there were also very few of them. But now, it was different. Groups of experts came out, causing their hearts to tremble. Why were there so many experts in the Tianyun Ancestral Land? What had happened? Could it be that the Tianyun Ancestral Land had been hiding its strength all along? Shishuayun and the rest were stunned. How did Yi Tianyun bring back so many experts in such a short time? So many experts were definitely not something that one or two ancestral lands could provide. Could it be that Yi Tianyun had conquered many ancestral lands? But they didn't hear any news about which ancestral lands had been conquered. Nothing at all. Heaven Cloud Star Venerable, you're really capable. No wonder the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land refused to join the Liu family. Turning his head to look at Yi Tianyun, Liu Zhixing said angrily, "Do you think these Star Venerables can deal with our Liu family? We have a Grand Star Venerable in the Liu family. A Grand Star Venerable can crush you to death. It doesn't matter how many of you there are. Once our old patriarch comes out, you will definitely die." Liu Zhixing didn't compromise. Instead, he became more and more excited and confident as he spoke. For them, the Grand Star Venerable was their biggest source of confidence. They had a Grand Star Venerable old patriarch, which could give the Liu family a good position on the Red Moon planet. Grand Star Venerable? Yi Tianyun smiled. If it were in the past, I would have been afraid. But now, it means nothing to me. What? Did you join another family? Liu Zhixing frowned. Looking at so many Star Venerables, he immediately thought that Yi Tianyun might have joined another family. Those Star Venerables must have been sent by other families to support them. Apart from that, he couldn't think of any other reason why so many Star Venerables had come from. There couldn't be so many Star Venerables on the desolate dragon planet. So, there was only one possibility. He must have come from a family on the Red Moon planet. Join another family? Yi Tianyun shook his head. He said, "We won't join any family." Because, Yi Tianyun took a step forward. The seven-colored Emperor Dragon's shadow appeared behind him. He exerted his Grand Star Venerable's power. The sudden aura directly suppressed Liu Zhixing and the others to their knees. Because I'm a Grand Star Venerable. Why would I be afraid of a Grand Star Venerable from the Liu family? Yi Tianyun said calmly. Liu Zhixing and others turned pale. They had never expected Yi Tianyun to break through to the Grand Star Venerable realm. They knew how difficult it was to break through to the Grand Star Venerable realm. Their elders had paid a great price, but they still hadn't succeeded. But now, Yi Tianyun had broken through to the Grand Star Venerable realm easily. He had only been a Star Venerable before. It seemed they had also learned that Yi Tianyun had just broken through to the Star Venerable realm not long ago. It meant his cultivation was at most in the middle stage of Star Venerable realm. He was not a threat to them at all. But now, a Grand Star Venerable was in front of them, a cultivation that they couldn't catch up to. Grand Star Venerable, how did you break through to the Grand Star Venerable realm? Liu Zhixing and others trembled. Their confidence was shattered. They felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. They sobered up completely. Why can't I break through to the Grand Star Venerable realm? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, by the way, I don't know if your old ancestor will take responsibility for killing you. Liu Zhixing and others trembled. They hurried to kowtow and said, Sir, please be magnanimous. We know we were wrong. We can pay other prices to save our lives. Please don't do this. They kept kowtowing. They didn't have the dignity of a Star Venerable at all. They chose to beg for mercy to save their lives. They had worked so hard to reach this level. They didn't want to die like this. If Yi Tianyun really killed them, it wouldn't be a problem at all. The Liu family's great ancestor wouldn't hold Yi Tianyun accountable. Yi Tianyun was a Grand Star Venerable. The Liu family's great ancestor wouldn't risk his life to hold Yi Tianyun accountable. Unless Yi Tianyun destroyed the Liu family, he wouldn't risk his life to fight Yi Tianyun. The Liu family's great ancestor had only killed a few Star Venerables. His heart ached, but the Liu family's great ancestor didn't want to be injured. He didn't want to die either. Who knew what would happen if he risked his life? Even if he killed Yi Tianyun and the Liu family's great ancestor was heavily injured, the Liu family wouldn't be any better. Yi Tianyun waved his hand. Liu Zhixing was sucked over. Then he started to search his soul. Let me see what your memory is first. Chapter 2162. After Yi Tianyun's super soul searching, Liu Zhixing's memories were all dug out. Liu Zhixing's companions, who came with him, didn't dare to resist at all, and they didn't blame Yi Tianyun for what he did to them. Against a Grand Star Venerable, no matter how they resisted, it would be meaningless. If this could appease Yi Tianyun, they would be more than willing to do it. Sacrificing one person would mean 4 people could survive. It was a good deal. Bang! Liu Zhixing's head was crushed. The rest of his body was vaporized by Yi Tianyun's power before he fell. Not a single drop of blood was left. Yi Tianyun did it on purpose. He did not want to see blood stain the floor. Great Star Venerate Heavenly Cloud, this is all Liu Zhixing's fault, it has nothing to do with us, we just followed him here. One of them said in horror. Great Star Venerate Heavenly Cloud, this is all Liu Zhixing's fault, it has nothing to do with us. Yi Tianyun flicked his finger. A terrifying power pressed down and killed them easily. He did not bother to say anything to them. It was meaningless. Most importantly, Liu Zhixing's memories had infuriated him. The Liu family is really using my force as cannon fodder. Yi Tianyun's eyes were cold. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Tianyun, what's wrong? Shi Shuiyun walked over and asked in confusion. The others all looked over. They did not know what Yi Tianyun meant. It's a little complicated. Generally speaking, the desolate dragon planet is going to change. Yi Tianyun said with a cold look, a divine pavilion is going to appear on the desolate dragon planet. It's called the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. They want to find the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion as soon as possible. When the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion appears, they will use us as cannon fodder. He knew the Liu family must have a purpose. Otherwise, they would not have recruited them. Now that he checked the situation, there was indeed a problem. The problem was caused by the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. Previously, he had obtained the key to the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion. It was just that the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion would only appear 80 years later. Only a short period of time had passed. No matter what, more than 70 years had passed. 70 years was a long time for ordinary people, but for cultivators, it was just the blink of an eye. Therefore, the Liu family had already made arrangements long ago. When the time came, they would be able to obtain some treasures from the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion. The treasures in the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion were absolutely astonishing. Any random treasure was at the galaxy grade, and there were even treasures of a higher grade than the galaxy grade. Hence, the families of Scarlet Moon Planet went crazy. Most of them would come over to find a few forces to be their spies. The Liu family was quite fast, and they immediately set their eyes on the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land. But no matter which family it was all because they wanted to use them as cannon fodder to pave the way for them. After Yi Tianyun explained a little, they all knew what was going on. They did not know what kind of place the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion was, but if the families of Scarlet Moon Planet had come over, it could not be simple. I have heard about the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion. At this moment, G-Clan Master of the 5-colored holy race stepped forward. Everyone looked at him. That was a long time ago. The Violet Gold Divine Pavilion is a treasury left behind by an extremely powerful Almighty. There are more than 10 million treasures in there. Since the Almighty has already left, the treasury has always been on the desolate dragon planet. But every once in a while, it will appear for many cultivators to fight over the treasures. But the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion is a little strange. It will spit out some treasures for no reason, and the cultivators waiting outside will go in to fight over them. At the same time, they can also go into the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion. But the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion is well protected. It is not easy to get in. If you are not careful, you will die inside. So, the Violet Gold Divine Pavilion is a treasury, but it is also a dangerous place. If you can get a few of the treasures inside, you will be able to increase your power greatly. But this place is basically only for Star Venerables and above. If you are not a Grand Star Venerable, you will not be able to enter the deeper regions. G-Clan Master knew a lot. Although it was not very detailed, it was at least more than what they knew. When everyone heard this, their expressions changed. No wonder the strong cultivators of the Red Moon Planet were all coming over. Who would not want to try such a tempting treasury? Tianyun, what should we do now? Seeing that Yi Tianyun had returned, Shishuayun naturally let Yi Tianyun make the decision. We don't need to deal with anything, we just need to rest and recharge ourselves. We will enter the purple gold divine pavilion together, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. It would be a waste if we don't participate in such a good treasure house. This, they all gasped. That was an area where many strong cultivators would go. Yi Tianyun actually wanted to give it a try. However, considering that Yi Tianyun was a Grand Star Venerable, it was normal for him to go. Okay. I will make arrangements to find the area where the violet gold divine pavilion is located. Shishuayun agreed to Yi Tianyun's plan without even thinking. There is no need. The violet gold divine pavilion will only appear in 70 years. By then, we will not have to look for it. We will find it easily. There is no need to waste time. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, we just need to practice. We will take action when the time comes. What we need to prepare now is to make arrangements for the clan masters to live in this area. 70 years, they all exchanged a look. They did not know how Yi Tianyun had calculated it, but they did not ask. No matter what Yi Tianyun says, they will do it. The most important thing was to make arrangements for the people to live there and give them good positions. As clan masters, their management skills were not weak. Letting them participate in this would definitely improve their overall strength. After making arrangements, Yi Tianyun could finally relax. He entered the seclusion room to rest for a while. He had just experienced the battle with the giant divine beast. He had to deal with a lot of things after he came back. It was finally over. He could now properly recover his body and properly absorb the benefits that came with a breakthrough in his cultivation. Besides, he wanted to improve the level of his Star Dharma phase. So, he had to find a seclusion room to practice. He had picked many spiritual herbs in the palace where the giant divine beast had stayed. Some of them could help him improve the level of his Star Dharma phase. He would not let go of this opportunity. Chapter 2163. While Yi Tianyun was devouring the spiritual herbs, people from the big clans came to the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land one after another. Like the Liu family, they wanted the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land to be their subordinate force. When the purple gold divine pavilion came out, they could use them as cannon fodder. Although they did not say so, they were not fools. They knew what was going on. Nothing happened for no reason. They had come here to make these powers die for them. Needless to say, they were all rejected. At first, those forces were quite overbearing, like the Liu family. However, when the Star Venerables came out, they realized they had made a big mistake. Most of them ran away. They did not dare to be arrogant in front of them. Most importantly, their attitude was not bad. At least, it was better than Liu Zhixing's. They were quite overbearing, but they did not threaten them like Liu Zhixing. If they really did not want to join, they could only choose to leave. Looking at the overall situation, these forces were relatively average, roughly in the middle position. Even though they did not have many strong men, the strong men they had could give them a place. Powerful clans did not need to do that. If they had a large number of strong men, they did not need to threaten some forces to join them. They could just send their disciples there. With the protection of the Grand Star Venerables, they would be much safer. After all, in these areas, their own people were the most trustworthy. If they tried to rope in the forces that joined them temporarily, it would be fatal if they suddenly attacked them. Yi Tianyun did not need to deal with these things. There were so many strong men outside. If he had to go there personally, it would mean that the Grand Star Venerables had come. Therefore, he had been living in peace. He could also devour the spiritual herbs he had obtained in the seclusion room. His Star Dharma idol could also improve, but the speed was quite slow. It was not easy to improve the Star Dharma idol. The spiritual herbs he had obtained could improve the Star Dharma idol, but they were not very effective. It was like the 10,000 Emperor flower. The 10,000 Emperor flower was the most effective when it reached level 4. The other spiritual herbs could also be improved to level 4, but they needed a lot of them. Right now, Yi Tianyun was stuck here. There was nothing particularly effective, so he could only improve himself bit by bit. Overall, it was still alright. At least he could improve the Star Dharma idol, which was better than not improving it at all. From the looks of it, I won't be able to make a breakthrough even if I devour all of the spirit herbs in the area. Yi Tianyun continued devouring the spirit herbs while observing the situation. However, he was not dejected. Every little bit of improvement counted. Colossal divine beast, if the major star venerables here are all so powerful, it will be difficult to deal with them. It is imperative that I improve my cultivation. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. After he finished absorbing this batch of elixirs, he planned to head to Red Moonstar to deal with the Liu family. From Liu Zhixing's memory, he learned a lot of things, some of which even angered him. Naturally, he would target the Liu family first. Getting rid of Liu Zhixing wasn't the end of everything. They had come to the Heavenly Cloud ancestral land not because of their own decision, but because it was an order from the Liu family patriarch. When it came to finding out who was responsible, it meant that it would be a thorough investigation. It was not just a matter of getting rid of this batch. While he was devouring the spirit herbs, another group of people came to him. "Sirs, are you here to recruit us? Please go back. Our Lord said we won't join any force." The Star Lord in front of the guests politely refused the 3-star venerables when he saw them coming. Although Yi Tianyun was a major star venerable, they were not arrogant. No one wanted to be enemies with all the forces, so they would be polite if they could. If the other party forced them, they would not be polite, either. "Get lost." The leader of the group extended his hand and slapped the Star Lord away. He was severely injured by the slap, and he was on the verge of death. This scene caught the attention of the guards. They quickly crushed their jade cards to summon the star venerables nearby to help. In the twinkling of an eye, 4 star venerables had come. The chiefs were quite proactive. Since they had joined this place, they were responsible for protecting it. "What do you want to do?" The Ghana tribe's chieftain and his companions were aggressive. They stared at the group of people coldly. They had just arrived, but they had already attacked them. It seemed they did not come with good intentions. "What do we want to do?" Mu Zhenghao, the leader of the group, said with a cold smile, "I should say, what do you want to do?" "We are from the Mu family. We are here to ask you about something." The Mu family. The Ghana tribe's chieftain and his companions did not know what was going on, nor did they know the distribution of the forces here. They did not know, but Shishuayun, who had rushed over, changed her expression when she heard them. She knew the Mu family. Mu Yangsu, who had come to make trouble for them last time, was from the Mu family. She did not expect them to come here so soon. The last battle had shocked the heavens and made ghosts and gods weep. Most people had witnessed it. They might not know that person was Mu Yangsu, but they could still find some clues if they asked around. If the Mu family's people went deep into the battle, they would probably find out many details. "I don't know what you want to ask." Shishuayun greeted them with a cold face. "Get lost. We are looking for Heavenly Cloud Star Venerable, not you." Mu Zhenghao ignored Shishuayun and the Ghana tribe's chieftain and his companions. He treated them as if they were invisible. "Heavenly Cloud Star Venerable is not here. You can ask me anything. I'm in charge of this place." Shishuayun looked calm. She was neither happy nor angry. "He is not here." Mu Zhenghao glanced at Shishuayun coldly. He said, "Fine. I will ask you first. I heard a great battle took place here not long ago. I checked its energy, and it is similar to the energy of one of our elders. Tell me, what has happened here? Tell me honestly. If you don't, I will bury your whole force." Mu Zhenghao's tone was cold. He treated the Ghana tribe's chieftain and his companions as if they were invisible. Maybe they were used to being arrogant. Compared to the Liu family, the Mu family could be called an advanced family. They had many strong people. They did not take the star venerables seriously at all. We saw it before. 2 strong people started fighting crazily. We didn't know what was going on, and our force suffered great losses. Shishuayun shook her head. That's the details. They were fighting all the time, so we couldn't see them clearly. As they fought, they disappeared. Chapter 2164. Hearing Shishuayun's explanation, Mu Zhenghao stared at Shishuayun coldly, as if he didn't believe Shishuayun's words. "You're saying that they're just fighting here, And the real battle isn't going to end here? Mu Zhenghao said coldly. Yes, that's the general situation. I don't know the rest, Shi Xueyun said. You can't count on that. According to my investigation, this is the only place in this area with traces of fighting. There are no traces of fighting in other areas. It's very likely that this place was the final battlefield. Mu Zhenghao said coldly, if you want to prove that there's no problem, search my soul. Don't worry, I won't affect your foundation. If it does, the Mu family will compensate you. Mu Zhenghao took a step forward, intending to search Shi Xueyun's soul. Any kind of explanation would be useless to him. Only by searching her soul and searching her memories would he be able to find out the truth. Mu Zhenghao took a step forward, and the Ghana tribe's leader stopped him. He said in a stern voice, "What do you want to do?" "What do I want to do? Didn't I just say that I want to search your soul?" Mu Zhenghao said calmly, "If you want me to trust you, you can only search my soul." "What? Do you want to stop me from searching your soul? You can't search the Empress's memory at will." The Ghana tribe's leader and the others were angry. As Yi Tianyun's wife, they had to protect her. No one could hurt her. Oh, Empress. Does she deserve to be called an empress? Mu Zhenghao's eyes were full of contempt. He didn't take them seriously at all. I'll say it for the last time. Let me search her memory. Otherwise, it won't be easy to solve. Don't think you're the strongest just because you have several star venerables. You're not bad in this area, but for the Mu family, you're no different from a small faction. If you know what's good for you, just let me search your soul. If that's the case, we won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, Mu Zhenghao's eyes were cold. They were full of killing intent. It seemed he would kill them at any moment. Otherwise what? A familiar voice came from behind them, followed by Yi Tianyun's figure. He walked out from inside with a cold expression. Who are you? Mu Zhenghao saw Yi Tianyun walk out and looked him up and down. He realized that he couldn't see through Yi Tianyun. Am I not the person you were looking for before? Yi Tianyun said calmly. Didn't you say that you weren't here anymore? Mu Zhenghao's eyes turned cold. He felt that he had been deceived, but he shook his head and said, Fine, I won't pursue the details. No matter who comes, give me a perfect explanation. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Soul search. Under normal circumstances, one's soul will be hurt. I wonder what kind of compensation you will give. Yi Tianyun said calmly. The compensation is some pills that can help your soul recover, Mu Zhenghao explained. That's it. Even with pills, it would take a long time for him to recover, right? Isn't this compensation a bit too simple? Yi Tianyun shook his head. As expected of a domineering clan, it was good enough that they could give him compensation, but it was too much. That's your only choice now. If you keep talking, forget about compensation, your entire ancestral land will be destroyed. Mu Zhenghao was getting impatient. He didn't want to waste any more time here. That's your only choice now. It seems like I roughly understand what you guys are trying to say. You guys are the same as the Liu clan, trying to use your clan's strength to suppress the weaker factions like us. If you don't obey, you'll die. Yi Tianyun shrugged. It seems like you're not that naive. I don't think I need to explain the rules, do I? Mu Zhenghao's eyes were filled with disdain. Sometimes, one had to obey obediently. All right, I'll explain it to you. I killed Mu Yangsu, whom you guys are looking for. I don't even need to search your soul, I'll just tell you. Yi Tianyun said as he walked towards Mu Zhenghao. Are you kidding me? You? Mu Zhenghao was taken aback at first. Then, he said mockingly, a star venerable from an indigenous planet dares to say he killed our elder? It seems like I have to do it myself. I'll investigate who made you protect him. Yi Tianyun extended his hand and pointed. The companions next to Mu Zhenghao were immediately suppressed by the power of a Grand Star Venerable. Before they could react, they turned into a bloody mist. In an instant, only Mu Zhenghao was left. Mu Zhenghao, who had been about to take action, froze. He looked at Yi Tianyun in disbelief. He hadn't expected Yi Tianyun to be a Grand Star Venerable. How come you're a Grand Star Venerable? Mu Zhenghao was shocked. How could an indigenous planet have a grand star venerable? That sounds familiar. The Liu clan's people said the same thing to me. Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile, do you think only the red moon planet has a grand star venerable? Ridiculous. But it does make sense. Do you think you're better than others just because you occupy an area with good resources? If our desolate dragon planet had good resources, our grand star venerables wouldn't be any less than yours. Of course, that's just an assumption. The real outcome doesn't exist. Some people are born with great advantages. If we want to catch up to them, we'll have to pay a high price. Okay. It's time for you to go down. I will deal with your Mu family soon, but before that, I will deal with the Liu family first. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, like a devil's smile. Mu Zhenghao quickly crushed the jade pendant in his hand. He wanted to send a message before his death. However, the jade pendant that he crushed was blocked by an invisible barrier. Words of law. Mu Zhenghao's throat moved, and he immediately knew that he was blocked by something. That's right. Word compliance. This thing is really useful. It can restrict so many things. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, I'm not afraid of you sending a message back. But I still have a lot of things to do. I'll visit you in person. Ha ha ha, visit you in person. Even if you're a Grand Star Venerable, the Mu clan doesn't have many Grand Star Venerables. Mu Zhenghao was still stubborn before his death. Yeah. The Mu clan does have many Grand Star Venerables, but I don't think they are enough for me to kill. Yi Tianyun said with a smile, by the way, before you die, I have to tell you something. When I killed that elder of yours, I was only a Star Venerable. Impossible. Chapter 2165. When Yi Tianyun killed Mu Yangsu, he was indeed a Star Venerable. He had only managed to kill Mu Yangsu by suppressing his opponent's Star Dharmic aspect. If one could not use the Star Dharmic aspect, he could only exert less than half of his power, which was enough to show how powerful the Star Dharmic aspect was. Everyone's Star Dharmic aspect could provide them with a lot of power, especially their astral power. The more astral power they had, the stronger they were. Mu Yangsu could not exert her astral power, which meant she had lost more than 30 cubic meters of astral power, which meant she had lost at least 10 times her power. Under such circumstances, Yi Tianyun could certainly suppress her. In other words, if the Mu clan had many people with the dragon bloodline, it would be as easy as killing an ant for him. However, he would not go to the Mu clan for the time being. He had to prepare well. If he could improve his cultivation to the middle stage of the Grand Star Venerable realm, he would be more confident in dealing with the Mu clan. He had Mu Yangsu's memories, so he knew how strong the Mu clan was. They had a shocking number of Grand Star Venerables, and a terrifying number of Star Venerables. Many of them had the Dragon clan's Star Dharmic aspect, so it would be easier for him to deal with them. However, many of them did not have the Dragon clan's Star Dharmic aspect. Especially the few Grand Star Venerables at the top. Without their suppression, he would not have paid them a visit so soon. He would only act after everything was prepared. That was what he had always thought. The Mu clan's people were killed. They will probably send more people soon. I don't have to waste time talking to them. As long as the Mu clan's people come, I will just kill them. Yi Tianyun said calmly, if they can send Grand Star Venerables. I don't mind them sending Grand Star Venerables. If it was in his territory, I would still be a little afraid. But now that he's in my territory, that's not necessarily the case. The Mu clan's territory had all kinds of great formations. It would not be easy to deal with them. If the Grand Star Venerables used so many great formations, their power would not be weak. This was why Yi Tianyun wouldn't act recklessly. The enemy's camp wasn't easy to break. It would be different if those Grand Star Venerables came. Without the support of the formation, it would not be easy to deal with those Grand Star Venerables. At least, it would not be more difficult than going to the Mu clan. Being able to greatly increase his chances of successfully killing them was undoubtedly equivalent to giving him experience. Yes, my lord. The Ghana Patriarch and the others were also furious. If not for Shi Shuiyun telling them not to act recklessly, they would have killed them long ago. This group of people was so rude and domineering, not putting them in their eyes at all. One had to know that they had never felt fear when facing so many giant beasts. If they wanted to kill, then kill. There was no need to talk so much nonsense. All right, I'll leave this place to you. I plan to make a trip to the Liu family and get rid of them first. Since they dared to make trouble here, I won't let them off so easily. Murderous intent filled the depths of Yi Tianyun's eyes. It was impossible not to make the Liu family pay the price by examining Liu Zhixing's memories. After giving instructions, Yi Tianyun used an teleportation divine stone and arrived at the Red Moon planet easily. As long as it wasn't a special region, the teleportation divine stone could reach many regions. In this way, he could save a lot of time. However, before that, he went to the Star Origin Zone and upgraded his clone. He threw a lot of materials at it so that the clone's cultivation would improve greatly. The clone was his trump card, so he naturally had to train it well. However, he still needed a lot of star energy to break through to the Grand Star Venerable Realm, so he could only upgrade it to the late stage of Star Venerable Realm. When he had more star energy in the future, he could upgrade it to the Grand Star Venerable Realm. When he thought about how his clone could also become a Grand Star Venerable, it would be easier for him to deal with enemies. He thought about suddenly coming out of his body and launching a sneak attack. Just thinking about it made him feel happy. Then, he went to the Liu family with ease. After taking control of Liu Zhixing's memories, he quickly found the fastest way, as if he was going back to his own home. At the same time, the Liu family was still making various plans. We have already taken control of several factions. 3 of them resisted quite fiercely. We have already killed a group of high-level members and forcibly occupied those factions. One of them reported the situation to Liu Xingning's patriarch with a smile in his eyes. He felt that he had done a good job. We also control 2 factions, but one of them resisted quite fiercely. We also destroyed it. It's almost the same on our side, but there is a faction with female cultivators. I wonder how we should deal with it, Lord Patriarch. The last person who reported the situation had a dirty look on his face. It seemed that he wanted to forcibly capture those female cultivators. Liu Xingning's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile, "Not bad, you all did a good job. As for those female cultivators, we can take our time. We can't force them. Let's first arrange some people to control them and assimilate them bit by bit. It won't do us any good if we force them. If we assimilate them, it would be a good way for our Liu family to cultivate our forces. Overall, you all did a good job. The areas assigned to you have all been done well. When everyone comes back, I will reward you well." Liu Xingning said indifferently, "As for those factions that joined, if they don't obey orders, then destroy them. I don't want to raise a disobedient dog." "Yes, Patriarch." They nodded heavily, indicating that they understood. For these factions, they would kill them if they wanted to. They wouldn't show any sympathy. As expected, if your strength is too weak, you are destined to be annexed. A ghostly voice came from the side. Who is it? The sudden voice was definitely not simple. Their natural sense of danger made them immediately hide to the side, and at the same time, look towards the area where the voice came from. They had set up their defenses in the blink of an eye. They were indeed well trained. "Don't mind who I am. I didn't expect to hear your reports just as I came." Yi Tianyun slowly walked out from the side, and clapped his hands. "It really is the law of the jungle. The weaker factions are at your mercy. I don't care about that, but since you have extended your hands into my faction, I have no choice but to come here. Which faction are you from?" Liu Xingning's eyes looked up and down at Yi Tianyun, his heart sank. Yi Tianyun can suddenly appear next to him without him knowing. There is only one possibility, that is, Yi Tianyun's cultivation is very strong, or his ability to hide is very strong. Chapter 2166. Does it matter which force I belong to? Yi Tianyun walked in with a faint smile. He said, "Anyway, you sent people here to take over my force by force." As soon as he finished speaking, he flicked his wrist. The Star Lords next to him were smashed into a bloody mist. They didn't even have a chance to react before they died. What was left were the Star Venerables. There were only 6 of them. They were all in the middle stage of Star Venerable Realm. Of course, Liu Xingning was the highest among them. He was in the late stage of Star Venerable realm. Of course, their cultivations couldn't pose any threat to him. It was obvious that even if Liu Xingning activated the Great Formation, he wouldn't be harmed at all. However, he wouldn't let Liu Xingning activate the Great Formation, because it would only waste time. Grand Star Venerable. The energy released by Yi Tianyun's attack made Liu Xingning and the others' happy mood plummet. They didn't know why their clansmen were so ignorant. Which force did they offend? How could such a strong man help them? A strong man of this level was even a Grand Star Venerable. They regretted it very much. Normally, they would investigate thoroughly. They would know clearly what the other party's background was and whether he had a backer or not. They would never offend a force casually. God knew whether some forces were supported by the families of the Red Moon planet. Therefore, they would investigate for a long time before they attacked. They wouldn't make any mistakes. However, they neglected one thing. Yi Tianyun didn't have a backer, but he was a strong man. Why did he need a backer? My lord, you must have some misunderstanding about this. What our subordinates do is to assign tasks normally. Sometimes, we don't know how they act. Some of them even act on their own to gain merits. Liu Xingning was smiling. He didn't feel angry at all because Yi Tianyun had killed his subordinates. Or, he could only feel angry in his heart. He didn't dare to show his anger. After all, he was facing a Grand Star Venerable. Facing a strong force, he could only choose to compromise. Seeing the smiling Liu Xingning, Yi Tianyun shook his head. This was really sad. It couldn't be said that they were wrong. It wasn't uncommon for them to sacrifice themselves for the sake of others. However, this made Yi Tianyun even more disdainful. Joining these families was truly a kind of tragedy. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't do such a thing. If he abandoned his subordinates, then in the future, his subordinates would also abandon him. Moreover, he wouldn't do something like forcefully occupying another's force. Unless it was an invasion, he couldn't be bothered to deal with it. That was how things were now. Once he attacked, then prepare to receive his wrath. Oh, is that so? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes and walked over. Liu Xingning and the rest broke out in cold sweat, not daring to move an inch. Yes, they want to make a contribution, so sometimes they invade other forces without reporting it. We don't know about this. Liu Xingning directly pushed the blame to his subordinates and said apologetically, "Sir, I don't know what kind of loss I've caused you. We can use other treasures to compensate you, or if you have any suggestions, we will compensate you." Liu Xingning's handling of the situation was quite on point. Not only did he push the blame to his subordinates, but he also immediately admitted his mistake and compensated them. Most people wouldn't be angry about this. Some forces would really do such a thing for their subordinates. Some forces would do something extra if they wanted to make a contribution. If they did it well, it would be a great contribution. But if they offended the enemy, they would be abandoned immediately. Yi Tianyun extended his hand and grabbed at the air. He dragged a Star Venerable next to him and crushed his head as easily as crushing an ant. "Okay. Go on." Yi Tianyun let Liu Xingning speak after crushing the Star Venerable's head. Liu Xingning's face stiffened, and the smile on his face froze. Anger flashed in the depths of his eyes, but he had to hold it in. "Sir, we really don't know. If you do this, you will put our Liu family in a difficult position. Our ancestor is also a great Star Venerable, and he is in seclusion. If he comes out, it will be unpleasant." Liu Xingning said with a faint smile, "Sir, we already admitted our mistake. Did we cause you a great loss? As I said just now, as long as you tell us what you want, we will satisfy you." Liu Xingning was heartbroken by the death of one of his family's elders, but he could only smile. Yi Tianyun grabbed another elder and crushed his head. Then he said with a faint smile, "Go on." Liu Xingning's face fell. If this went on, all of his elders would die. How could he continue? "What do you mean? Do you want to exterminate our Liu family?" Liu Xingning was angry. "Our Liu family isn't a pushover. I don't want to exterminate your Liu family, but if you want to exterminate my forces, then it's a different story." Yi Tianyun said indifferently, "What do you think? Do you think I should return the favor?" "Sir, I told you. It was our subordinates doing. We didn't know anything. Liu Xingning said in a low voice, we didn't know what our subordinates did. But no matter what, it's our Liu family's responsibility. That's why we decided to give you some compensation to show our apology. Yi Tianyun sucked again. The elder couldn't resist and was sucked into his palm. No. Liu Xingning's eyes were red. He shouted, trying to stop Yi Tianyun. But it was useless. Yi Tianyun crushed his head and killed another elder. Now, there were only 3 of them left. It was really miserable. They were being beaten up. Didn't know anything. Well said. It's a perfect way to shift the blame. Yi Tianyun continued, Wild Dragon Star, Heavenly Cloud Ancestral Land. Kill anyone who resists. Take their forces by force. Especially Heavenly Cloud Star Sovereign. Kill anyone who refuses. Don't let his children go. His potential is amazing. If we let him go, he will bring trouble to the Liu family in the future. To whom did you say this? Yi Tianyun's eyes were full of murderous intent. He didn't make it up. He got it from Liu Zhixing's memory. This order was given by none other than Liu Xingning himself. There must be a reason why he came here in such a rage. He wasn't a ruthless person. But since the other wanted to exterminate him, why should he be polite? This time, he had come to kill. Apart from that, forgiveness and compensation were meaningless. Now, Liu Xingning kept lying. It was ridiculous. Chapter 2167. Yi Tianyun's words sent a chill down Liu Xingning's spine. How could he not know who had said that? That was exactly what he had said. But he hadn't expected it to be a strong man from the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. He hadn't expected that at all. The Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land had been investigated many times. In general, it was a force with great potential. It would be a good choice for the Liu family to manage it. Therefore, after a thorough investigation, they had learned that the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land didn't have any backing except for Yi Tianyun, who was amazingly talented. So, they started to act. They had to conquer the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. If they can't take Yi Tianyun down, then they will kill Yi Tianyun and his family. They can't leave any future trouble. When Yi Tianyun learned about this matter, he really wanted to kill the Liu family immediately and flatten them. But he suppressed his anger and dealt with the matter first. Then, he would visit the Liu family first. The Liu family was even more ruthless than the Mu family. If the Liu family's cultivation had been a little bit stronger, the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land would have been doomed. What? You don't know what to say? Yi Tianyun said calmly, you said it yourself. Do you think I've done something wrong? No. We made a mistake. We really didn't know you were from the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. If we had known that, we wouldn't have attacked the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. Liu Xingning cursed silently. He had investigated so many times. How could the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land have such a strong man backing it? I don't know what losses we've caused to the Heavenly Cloud's ancestral land. If it's possible, we can make it up to you. As long as you ask for anything, we will satisfy you. Liu Xingning gnashed his teeth. In order to appease Yi Tianyun, he had to go all out. As long as it was within the scope of the conditions, he would agree. That's because I'm stronger than you. Now that I think about it, what you said was really ruthless. Strong cultivators can do whatever they want. I also want to do whatever I want. Yi Tianyun grinned. Before Liu Xingning could react, another star venerable next to him was killed. Bastard, even if our Liu family has to risk our lives, we'll fight you to the death. Liu Xingning roared angrily and crushed the jade pendant in his hand. He was definitely calling the old ancestor who was in seclusion to come out and help. As expected, as soon as he crushed it, the ground began to shake. Yi Tianyun ignored him and continued to slap another elder to death. At the same time, he reached out to grab Liu Xingning, wanting to crush him. Friend, that should be enough, right? An ancient voice rang out from beneath the ground. At the same time, a gigantic palm shot out, enveloping Liu Xingning and blocking Yi Tianyun's attack. If it were you, your entire family would be annihilated, and you would know if it was enough. Yi Tianyun snorted coldly. He suddenly raised his strength, and a violent force shattered the giant palm. At the same time, it pressed down on Liu Xingning. "Old ancestor, save me," Liu Xingning shouted loudly. He did not want to die. "In that case, just stay here." A giant star Dharma Laksana appeared in the sky. It was a giant hairy ape. Giant hairy apes were famous for their great power. He turned his hand around and threw a giant fist at Yi Tianyun. 33 cubic meters of star power appeared in the sky. It was a pretty good power. Yi Tianyun's palm was shattered by this punch. At the same time, he was sent flying. He did not stop until he had retreated a long distance. At this moment, the Liu family's old ancestor showed up. He was an old man with a sage-like appearance and a long white beard. He was swaying gently. His hands were behind his back. He looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. It was not obvious that this old man had a powerful star Dharma Laksana. His thin body contained a violent power. It was really not symmetrical. "Ancestor, he killed many of our elders. You must avenge our elders." Liu Xingning's heart ached incomparably. The elders that he had painstakingly nurtured were all dead just like that. How could his heart not ache? "Shut up. This is all your fault. Once this is over, I will definitely punish you severely." Patriarch Liu glared at him angrily. Then, he looked at Yi Tianyun and said coldly, "It seems that if I don't show myself, the world will forget about my existence. Today, I will use you as a sacrifice to the heavens. Looks like you're confident that you can kill me. You want to punish him? I'm afraid you won't have the chance. You two go down together and think about what you've done wrong." Yi Tianyun smiled, and the image of the Rainbow Emperor Dragon appeared behind him. The power of the unique star Dharma was released, causing their expressions to change. An extremely rare unique star Dharma had appeared in front of them just like that, and its power was much higher than theirs. A grand star venerable with a unique star Dharma aspect. Very good. Patriarch Liu's face turned gloomy. This was indeed a great challenge. Let's see if you can withstand my fist. With power, you can indeed do whatever you want. However, it's not you who can do whatever you want. It's me. Patriarch Liu waved his fist. The star Dharma aspect behind him merged instantly and turned him into a giant hairy ape. His shriveled body turned into a giant hairy ape instantly. His giant fist hammered the ground lightly, and everything within 10,000 miles shook. "Ancestor, kill him." Liu Xingning knew he would be punished, but it was better than death. For him, even if Yi Tianyun had a unique star Dharma aspect, he would still be suppressed by his ancestor. After all, Patriarch Liu's cultivation was in the middle stage of a grand star venerable, while Yi Tianyun's cultivation was only in the early stage of a grand star venerable. A real expert won't do whatever he wants just because he has a bit of power. Seeing Patriarch Liu charging at him, Yi Tianyun jumped slightly and turned into a 7-colored emperor dragon. He opened his mouth and swallowed the star power above him. He swallowed a large amount of star power and turned it into his own star power. Old ancestor Liu felt that his power was quickly weakened. He didn't expect Yi Tianyun to have such a terrible ability. By the time he realized how terrifying Yi Tianyun was, it was already too late. After swallowing a large amount of star power, Patriarch Liu became much weaker, while Yi Tianyun became much stronger. Coupled with the crazy damage mode and the stacking of powers like the Starlight Deity, Yi Tianyun simply waved his claw and pressed forward, crushing the fist that was coming at him into pieces. In the end, Patriarch Liu was pressed onto the ground, unable to move. "Is this your so-called power that allows you to do whatever you want?" Yi Tianyun looked down at Patriarch Liu, who was pressed onto the ground. "How dare you be so arrogant in front of me, saying that you want to sacrifice me to the heavens? Today, I will sacrifice you to the heavens." Chapter 2168. Old Master Liu felt a chill in his chest. Then, his head felt like it was about to explode. At the same time, Yi Tianyun's dragon claws pierced into his head, easily breaking through his thick defenses and grabbing his soul out of his head. All that was left was the huge shell. However, after losing its soul, it quickly turned into motes of light and dissipated. In the end, not even its bones were left behind. Without a soul carrier, the body would naturally dissipate. After all, it was formed by the accumulation of astral power. When people died, they would dissipate. Liu Xingning, who was at the side, was stunned. Their old ancestor was easily killed and his soul was easily captured. This meant that the Liu family was finished. The old ancestor was captured. Liu Xingning sat on the ground, paralyzed. He did not even need to escape. Who could escape from a Grand Star Venerable? It was impossible for them to escape from Yi Tianyun, unless they were Great Star Venerables themselves or had other experts helping them. Otherwise, it was impossible for them to escape from Yi Tianyun. After Yi Tianyun captured old ancestor Liu's soul, he used his divine soul bloodline to erase old ancestor Liu's memories. How could he let go of such good memories and such a good puppet? What he lacked at the moment was experts. His puppets could reach the late stage of the Star Venerable realm with just a few materials. If he had enough materials in the later stages, he would have no problem breaking through to the Grand Star Venerable realm. Of course, this required a lot of materials, and the price to pay was not low. At the moment, he was still targeting Star Venerables. He had the soul of a Grand Star Venerable as his foundation, and he was definitely one of the best among Star Venerables. It could be said that he was invincible among Star Venerables. With a few more Great Star Venerate soul puppets, they would be able to deal with early-stage Great Star Venerates. Yi Tianyun was also very interested in old ancestor Liu's memory. He was very interested in the memory of a Grand Star Venerable. Ding! Successfully killed old ancestor Liu. Reward: 1 billion star energy and 1000 slaughter point. Obtained hairy ape star form, level 6, hairy ape bloodline, death's door, super rare. Death's gate: once opened, it will lead to the death zone. Legend has it that there are countless souls waiting to be reincarnated. Note: extremely dangerous. Yi Tianyun noticed that the items that dropped recently were quite peculiar. After activating the lucky halo, a lot of rare items would drop, and there were even more super rare items. The higher the cultivation, the higher the drop rate. The items that were dropped were all special. For example, they were all keys that could lead to special areas. He currently had a few keys in his hands. Now, this gate of death could even lead to the death zone, and it also warned him that it was extremely dangerous. This would not be simple, but extremely dangerous. Even a Grand Star Venerate like him would be in danger if he went there. It was easy to imagine how dangerous it would be over there. They are all souls. If I can find some high-quality souls, wouldn't I be able to create a large puppet army? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up, but he didn't want to go there for the time being. He had already been warned that it was very dangerous, so it was better to wait until his cultivation increased a little. Then, he turned his gaze to Liu Xingning, flew down from the sky, and landed beside him. What? You're not arrogant anymore? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk nonsense. Liu Xingning said angrily. He knew that Yi Tianyun wouldn't let him go, so he decided to be stubborn. At least he could die a little more honorably. Yi Tianyun slapped Liu Xingning to death with the back of his hand. Okay, as you wish. Yi Tianyun retracted his hand and turned his gaze to the Liu family. What happened next was needless to say. He killed some of the upper echelons of the Liu family and ignored the rest. Those were small fries who didn't know the situation. They probably didn't even know who the intruders were. After dealing with the Liu family, Yi Tianyun returned to Desolate Dragon Planet. He didn't plan to go to the Mu family. If he wanted to go there personally, he would have to increase his cultivation a little more. He was still a long way from reaching the middle stage of Grand Star Venerate. After he left, the news of the Liu family's destruction spread quickly. It caused quite an uproar on Scarlet Moon Planet. It was quite famous. The Liu family was a mid-tier family, so they were quite powerful. Now that they were destroyed, it would still cause an uproar on Scarlet Moon Planet. Many families started to investigate the situation, especially those at the same level as the Liu family. They also started to investigate. They wanted to know who attacked the Liu family. Maybe they would attack them one day. The high-tier families also sent people to investigate, but they didn't pay much attention to it. It didn't matter to them who destroyed a mid-tier family. Anyway, it wouldn't be their turn. They all had many grand star venerates. If anyone dared to attack, they wouldn't even know how they died. While Scarlet Moon Planet sent people to investigate, Yi Tianyun had already returned to Desolate Dragon Planet. He continued to make arrangements. What he was waiting for was the opening of the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion. At that time, he would go and look for opportunities to help him break through. What he wanted to find was to increase the level of the Star Dharma idol. That was the most important thing. If he wanted to increase his cultivation, he just needed to hack at it fiercely. But only a Grand Star Venerate could bring him more star energy. The star energy of a star Venerate was really not enough to fill his teeth. Without a faction that provoked him, it was really hard for his cultivation to increase. If he went to the giant divine beast's domain and killed some people, he could get a lot of star energy. But the premise was that the giant divine beast hadn't attacked him yet. If it did, he could only run. He really didn't have the heart to face the giant divine beast. That great power was really frightening. Do I have to wait here foolishly? Yi Tianyun thought about it. There was nothing he could do for the time being. It was mainly because Shi Shueyun could take care of most things. There were also a bunch of family masters. It would be hard for him to get involved even if he wanted to. As for looking for spiritual herbs, he didn't care. Most of the resources here had been dug out. It was a bit difficult, and he would have to run too far. That wasn't his style. Should I use this shining golden door? Yi Tianyun thought about it. Then, he looked at the shining golden door in his inventory. This thing was a bit tricky. It had a special meaning, which was that it would teleport him to an unknown region. No one knew what the unknown region was like. It could be dangerous, or it could be safe. Maybe he would teleport to Scarlet Moon Planet. That would be hilarious. But apart from that, he couldn't think of anything else he could use. If it was the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion, he could only use it when the Purple Gold Divine Pavilion opened. The Door of Death was too dangerous, so he couldn't use it for the time being. For now, he could only use the Shining Golden Door. Chapter 2169. Teleporting to an unknown area really made him curious and excited. If he was teleported to a dangerous place, it would be more than enough for him. On the contrary, if it was an ordinary area, it would be meaningless. The saddest thing was that he would be teleported to a familiar place. That would be even more ridiculous. No matter what, this was the only way for Yi Tianyun to improve himself now. If he went to a good area, he could improve himself. If there was nothing, he could only accept it. Since he had this thing, why not use it? Let's see how it works. I hope I can go to a good area. Yi Tianyun pursed his lips and said with a smile, by the way, I can activate the lucky halo. With the blessing of luck, I should be able to go to a good area. He almost forgot about the lucky halo. He had only chosen to activate it when he was killing enemies. He would not activate it normally. Now, it was random. If he used the lucky halo, he might be able to go to a very good area. The lucky halo could increase his chances of going to a good area. How could he not use it? After activating it, Yi Tianyun was relieved to use the shining golden door. After activating it, a golden door quickly appeared in front of him. There was golden light in front of him, and he could not see anything. He had no idea where he would be teleported to. I'm going all out. I hope I have more luck. Yi Tianyun took a step forward and entered the shining golden door. After his entire body entered, the shining golden door disappeared completely, as if nothing had ever happened. In the next second, Yi Tianyun passed through the thick golden door and entered another area. As soon as he came out, he saw piles of elixirs, which basically filled this vast and boundless area. After seeing the elixirs in the gigantic divine beast's palace, Yi Tianyun was not so surprised. He had to say that apart from the gigantic divine beast's area, this was the area with the most elixirs. The elixirs here were really too rich. Golden divine grass, 9 revolution star grass, and so on could all be found here. Also, the 10,000 emperor flower could also be found here. More importantly, he could tell at a glance that this place was artificially cultivated. It was obvious that the area he had entered was someone else's world. There were great formations set up all over this place, continuously absorbing the stellar energy from the outside to nourish the divine medicine here. Who are you? How did you get here? A sharp killing intent immediately came from the side. Without saying a word, it first attacked Yi Tianyun, wanting to capture him. Yi Tianyun didn't even raise his head. He stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air, catching the person who had pounced on him. The one caught was a star venerate. Naturally, he could not resist Xiao Chen's strength. Under his void palm, it kept twisting and turning. It was impossible to even send a message out. At this moment, Yi Tianyun raised his head and looked over. He couldn't see anything from his attire, so he wasn't very clear about the other party's identity. Which faction are you from? Yi Tianyun showed an indifferent expression. Barging into someone else's territory was rather rude. However, he still had to find out what exactly this place was. The flickering golden door brought him to a special region. This was a completely unknown region, so he had no idea where he was. Now that he saw someone, he had to figure this out first. Who exactly are you? How did you barge in? That star venerate twisted and turned continuously, horror filling his eyes. No matter what, he was a star venerate, yet he ended up being controlled just like that. This horrified him. If Xiao Chen casually entered, wouldn't he be able to steal all the divine medicine here? It looks like there is no way to communicate. Let me do it myself. Yi Tianyun directly used a super soul-searching spell. Since he asked so many questions and did not even answer, he might as well do it himself. After a round of soul-searching, Xiao Chen directly crushed this star venerate. His gaze turned cold as he said, "Oh, enemies really do not meet. My luck is pretty good. I was directly sent to the Mu clan's treasure trove." After investigating, Xiao Chen discovered that the place he had come to was not a strange expert's world but one of the Mu clan's treasure trove. He had not expected to be sent here. Normally, he would have to force his way in if he wanted to come in. Then, he would be surrounded by many star venerates. It would be very difficult to come in, especially since there were many formations outside. Even a giant divine beast might not be able to come in. Xiao Chen knew Mu Yangsu's memories, so he knew how difficult it was outside. This was why he had not attacked. If he had not been so strong, he would have charged over long ago instead of waiting for the Mu clan to charge over or for his cultivation to increase before coming over to settle the score. Now, he was directly inside the treasure trove. There were not as many formations inside as there were outside. Since he was already inside the formation, it was impossible for there to be all sorts of offensive formations inside. This way, he could get out from the inside and directly wreak havoc on the inside. What a pleasant surprise for me. Settling the score so soon. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. Murderous intent filled the depths of his eyes. Then, Xiao Chen started to clean up the spirit herbs here. He picked them all, regardless of whether they were mature or immature. He did not leave a single stalk behind. Along the way, Xiao Chen ran into some apprentice alchemists. They were all star venerates, but Xiao Chen killed them all. After plundering everything, Xiao Chen swaggered out and passed through the passage. When he arrived outside, he killed the guards with one palm strike before they could react. Who would have thought that an enemy would come out from inside? The guards had never thought of this. The reason they were guarding this place was to prevent inner disciples from entering at will, not to prevent enemies from breaking in. After killing the guards, Yi Tianyun easily entered the Mu clan's interior and started to plunder. He had Mu Yangsu's memories, so he knew where the treasures were and where it was safer to go. Anyway, his biggest goal in coming here was to plunder. He wanted to plunder all the treasures of the Mu clan and collect interests. Coincidentally, this was the treasure district. With Mu Yangsu's memories, it was easy for him to open the door. Elixir area, enter. Forging material area, enter. Weapon area, enter. Yi Tianyun swept through the entire place and plundered all the treasures in the treasure trove. There were no offensive formations inside. Most of them were in the outermost passage. He did not need to go through that passage, so he did not need to worry about anything. Of course, even if there were formations here, he did not need to worry. With Mu Yangsu's memories, it was like returning home to him. Chapter 2170. Looking at the door of the treasure vault, Yi Tianyun could feel a trace of terrifying energy from the door. It was as if there was an amazing treasure sealed inside the door. Most importantly, Mu Yangsu's memory didn't contain anything similar. It meant that they got it after Mu Yangsu went out. Since Mu Yangsu had been killed by him, she didn't know what was inside. That made him very curious. What was inside? He started to open the door of the treasury without thinking too much. No matter what was inside, he just needed to take it. Along the way, it was obvious that this was an area where treasures were stored. This place was no exception. There would not be any star venerables hiding here to cultivate. This wasn't a seclusion room. Star venerables wouldn't choose to cultivate here. Then he started to break the star patterns on the door of the treasury. Fortunately, it wasn't difficult. They were all around the level of third-grade star patterns, so he could still break them. The protection here was simple and not very complicated. Obviously, it was done in a rush, and it just needed to be filled in a little bit. If there were star patterns of 4th or 5th grade, he wouldn't be able to do anything. He would have to improve his level as a star tattoo master. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to break the star patterns here. He broke the star patterns quickly while using the crazy star pattern mode. He couldn't stay here for too long, or he would be discovered easily. So, he had to break them as soon as possible. Soon, he broke the star patterns easily. Then he pushed the door gently and slipped inside. At the same time, he closed the door without leaving any trace. After he entered, he immediately felt a power filled with darkness. It surged from the front and instantly swallowed him. With his abilities, he naturally wouldn't be devoured by the dark force. With a wave of his hand, the dark force was dispersed. Ah! A painful cry came from the front. Yi Tianyun looked at the direction of the sound and found a girl tied by a thick iron chain in front of her. Her whole body is tied to a stone tablet. Faint golden lights kept gushing out of the stone tablet and penetrating the special iron chain. The girl in front of him was the one who had released the dark power. The girl's face was covered by her long black hair, making it impossible to see what she looked like. What she looked like wasn't important. What was important was that the girl's body was constantly emitting the power of darkness. It was a very dense power of darkness. Even though the steely of light was a steely of light, it still couldn't suppress the release of the power of darkness in her body. However, this power of darkness was not particularly strong. Its corrosive effect on the chains was rather weak. From the looks of it, it would take a long time to erode the chains. When it is about to be destroyed, it is estimated that the Mu Jiao will also send people to repair it. Basically, it is difficult to escape. Sacred body of darkness, there's such a top-notch physique. When Yi Tianyun saw the girl, he quickly used the appraisal eye to check her information. The girl in front of him was called Kong Yeyue, and she was a member of the Death Clan. She possessed the sacred body of darkness, which was the overlord of darkness. It could be said that all of the power of darkness would submit to her control. It was quite shocking. Yi Tianyun also found out that she was a member of the Death Clan. The people of the Death Clan were very strange. They specialized in finding the souls of the dead, which meant that they could be resurrected. For some clans, this ability was simply the ability to resurrect their own people. If the dead could be resurrected, wouldn't that make them invincible? In fact, the Death Clan couldn't find the souls of the dead endlessly. It also depended on the cultivation of the soul. The weaker the soul, the easier it was to find it. At the same time, it would also cause harm to themselves. God gave them this ability, but it can't be used casually. How could it be used without paying a price? If it could be used casually, then the order would be destroyed. How could the Mu Jiao capture the people of the Death Clan? The Death Clan's population is extremely small. They generally don't appear in the world. How could they catch them? Yi Tianyun was very puzzled. The girl in front of him looked very evil and dark, but in fact, the Death Clan wasn't evil at all. On the contrary, it was the hope that many cultivators had been searching for. After all, the Death Clan could help to save their own people. Even if they couldn't save them endlessly, at least they could save some of them. Usually, the Death Clan wouldn't save people casually because it would consume their souls. If it wasn't very important, or if they didn't pay a price, they wouldn't do it. Such a mysterious death clan was actually captured by the Mu Jiao, which really surprised him. No matter what, this was indeed a treasure, and a very valuable one at that. If it was seen by other forces, they would definitely rob it. Robbing a member of the death clan was equivalent to saving several of their own people. How could this not make them excited? Why aren't you talking? Don't you know how to persuade me? No matter who you call, I won't help you save people. Even if I die, I won't help you save people. Kong Yeyue looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. When she saw that Yi Tianyun didn't speak, she couldn't help but say it. Miss, you misunderstood me. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm a sworn enemy of the Mu Jiao. I snuck in and looted the treasures here. I thought there would be some treasures here, but I didn't expect to see you here. Yi Tianyun sized up Kong Yeyue. Her cultivation was pretty good. She was a star venerable. However, a star venerable couldn't cause any trouble here. Even though she had the dark sacred body, she was easily controlled. The gap between their cultivations was obvious, and a grand star venerable could easily control her. Kong Yeyue was struck dumb. She didn't expect Yi Tianyun to say this. I don't believe you. You must be lying. Kong Yeyue said coldly, the Mu family has many grand star venerables, and they are protected by many strong people outside. How could they sneak in without being discovered? I already said that I snuck in and used a little technique to get in. Of course, you won't believe what I say now. So, I'll take you out of here. Yi Tianyun wasn't being compassionate. He just wanted to take part in anything that could ruin the Mu family's plan. Chapter 2171. Yi Tianyun's words silenced Kong Yeyue. After thinking for a while, she said, since that's the case, then help me out. As long as you help me out, I will repay you well. Of course, that's not a problem. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for Kong Yeyue to say that. Then he went to Kong Yeyue and saw that Kong Yeyue was covered in wounds. They were all caused by the light attribute chains. Since she was a restraining element, she was covered in cuts and bruises when she was slightly tied up. For her, these injuries were not serious. She would be fine after a short recovery. After observing her carefully, he started to break the chains. It was not difficult to break the chains. He only needed to break them with brute force. Since the chains were set up by a Grand Star Venerable, they contained a bit of light attribute energy. So, Yi Tianyun only needed to break them with brute force. Kong Yeyue's cultivation was too weak. It would take her a long time to break them with brute force. It's almost time. When I break them, the Mu clan's Grand Star Venerable will be attracted. Then, you can hide in my body's world. I will help you escape, Yi Tianyun explained. Okay. Kong Yeyue did not say much. Her eyes, which were hidden under her long hair, were flashing. No one knew what she was thinking. Maybe she did not completely trust Yi Tianyun. Maybe it was all a trap. For example, he might send someone to save her so that he could gain her trust. There were many such plans. If she was not careful, she would be deceived. Yi Tianyun did not say much. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the chains. Then he pulled them hard, trying to break them with brute force. As he pulled, the chains gave off a dazzling golden light, trying to block Yi Tianyun's attack. However, this was meaningless. As Yi Tianyun yanked hard, cracks started to appear on the chains. Even the stone of light behind him started to crack. Grand Star Venerable. Kong Yeyue was stunned. She had not expected Yi Tianyun to be a Grand Star Venerable. She had assumed he was a Star Venerable. It looked like she had been wrong. The one who had come to save her was a Grand Star Venerable. However, the more it was so, the more she suspected it might be the Mu family's Grand Star Venerable. Before everything was settled, she would not believe in anything or anyone. At the same time, a Grand Star Venerable outside the treasure house suddenly opened his eyes. What's going on? My verbal compliance law is about to be broken? She can actually break my verbal compliance law. This is impossible. The glorious Star Venerable quickly stood up and rushed to Yi Tianyun's side. He instantly rushed down to check on the situation. He did not inform the other Grand Star Venerables, because Grand Star Venerables practiced separately. At the same time, he thought it might be Kong Yewe's doing, so he did not inform the others. After all, no matter how powerful Kong Yewe was, she was only a star venerable. He could deal with her easily. Most importantly, he did not understand how a star venerable could break his verbal compliance law. As for the invasion of enemies, he did not think too much about it. The treasure house's passage was under the surveillance of many star venerables. As long as someone approached, no matter who it was, they would know it clearly. So, they knew clearly who had entered the treasure house. This did not hinder their practice. They just needed to send out a wisp of divine thought to monitor it. It did not cost them much effort. Before the glorious star venerable came in, Yi Tianyun had forcefully torn off the chains. It was difficult, but it was still easy for him to deal with it. It was impossible for other star venerables to break it. If one's cultivation was too low, he would not be able to break it. Okay. You can run away now. Looking at Kong Yewe, Yi Tianyun said calmly, you can enter the space inside my body. Just stay there. Yi Tianyun waved his hand, and a space passage appeared for Kong Yewe to go in. Kong Yewe kept silent for a while. Then she stepped in. She had no choice but to do it because she suspected or trusted him. As soon as Kong Yewe went in, the gate outside was smashed open with a bang. The glorious star venerable showed up at the gate. Who are you? How did you get in? When the glorious star venerable came in, he happened to see Kong Yewe being taken into the space. He also saw Yi Tianyun. When he saw who it was, he was dumbfounded. How could anyone sneak in under such surveillance? 6 stars shine. Yi Tianyun responded with his strongest killing move. Before the glorious star venerable could come in, he had already exerted his strongest power and smashed it down. However, he did not transform into the 7-colored Emperor Dragon's true body. Instead, he used his true body to attack. Even without the true body's power, he could still exert great power. Under the heavy punch, countless balls of light whizzed toward the glorious star venerable. They surrounded the glorious star venerable from all directions. There was no place for him to hide. The glorious star venerable was not a pushover. He reacted quickly to resist. He spread his hand, and a wall of light appeared around him, forming an indestructible defense. Boom! 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 Countless balls of light kept bombarding the thick wall of light. Since it had been formed in a hurry, its defense was extremely weak. Countless cracks appeared on the wall of light. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. The glorious star venerable was not a very strong star venerable. He was only in the early stage of the star venerable realm. It was not difficult for Yi Tianyun to face a star venerable in the early stage of the star venerable realm. It's too late, Yi Tianyun smiled. His figure disappeared quickly. In the next second, he appeared in front of the glorious star venerable. With the balls of light bombarding him, he threw a heavy punch at the glorious star venerable. Primal Chaos Fist. He threw a punch at close range, shattering the fragile protective wall and hitting the brilliant star venerable. When the glorious star venerable looked down and saw a fist on his chest, he was stunned. He had not expected his defense to be so weak. Not to mention the light wall outside, he had also built a thick defense on his body. However, he still could not resist this punch. Explode. Boom. The glorious star venerable was blown apart. His body was blown away. Even his soul was severely injured. Before the glorious star venerable could escape, Yi Tianyun reached out and grabbed his soul. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. A grand star venerable had been killed so easily. It shouldn't have been that easy. After all, they were in Yi Tianyun's territory, but the brilliant great star venerable was not prepared at all, and he was directly defeated by Yi Tianyun's storm-like attack. Chapter 2172. Ding. Successfully killed the brilliant great star venerable. Obtained 500 million star energy points and 1000 kill points. Obtained the brilliant Star King Star Dharma Idol, level 6, level 4, brilliant great shield, can withstand the fierce attacks of a great star venerable for a short time. Brilliant Divine Gate, rare. Brilliant Divine Gate, can go to a light attribute domain. Unknown danger. Now, he could get a special treasure and go to a light attribute domain. However, It was not marked on the death gate. It would be very dangerous. The degree of danger was unknown. It might be very dangerous, or it might not be dangerous at all. In any case, there would be another good place to go. If there was a need for a light attribute domain, he could go there easily. After killing the brilliant Great Star Venerable, the jade card placed in the Mu clan's palace immediately shattered. The old guard next to it was startled. What? What's going on? Wasn't the brilliant Great Star Venerable in the clan? How could he die? The old guard was petrified. Mu Yang-su had been killed outside. That was not a problem. But the brilliant Great Star Venerable was in the clan. If he died in the clan, what did that mean? It meant that some strong people in the clan had sneaked in to assassinate him. It's bad. It's bad. The old guard ran out in a hurry and crushed the jade card. However, the jade card this time was different. It was a token to notify everyone. After being notified, everyone was startled. How could such a thing happen at such a critical moment? The Great Star Venerables all woke up from their seclusion. What's going on? Is there an emergency? They all came out of their seclusion rooms and flew outside to check the situation outside. However, after they came out, they did not see anything. There was nothing going on outside. It's strange. What's going on? They were all a little dumbfounded. What was this emergency? At that moment, the old guard hurried over and reported, "It's bad. Elder Guang Yarrow is dead. Elder Guang Yarrow is dead." They were all shocked. They did not expect Elder Guang Yarrow to be dead. Elder Guang Yarrow was clearly in the seclusion room. How is it possible? Isn't Elder Guang Yarrow in the seclusion room? I've even met him before. But the jade tablet shattered just like that. Quick, check the situation. They immediately checked the situation around them. The entire Mu clan was reflected in their eyes, but they didn't find anything wrong. Could it be that something went wrong in the treasury? They were shocked. The treasury was an area that they couldn't easily explore. Even if it was them, they wouldn't be able to find out what was going on inside. After all, if they could investigate as they pleased, it meant that others could do the same. This was naturally not allowed. Soon after, they all ran into the treasury. As soon as they ran down, they found that there was not a single guard. This time, their hearts sank. The guards were gone, which meant that something must have happened. Sure enough, when they pushed open the doors of the treasury one by one, they almost fainted. Even though they had weathered many storms, they still felt a little dizzy when their treasure vaults were emptied. It was unknown how much effort they had put in to accumulate so many treasures. Although it wasn't all the treasures, it was still a shocking amount of wealth. No matter which family it was, having so many treasures taken away would still be extremely distressed. The most important treasures were naturally with them. But no matter what, those treasures were quite good. They would rather give them to their subordinates than let them be stolen. The Death Clan. They looked at each other and quickly rushed to the treasury where Kong Yeue was imprisoned. They didn't even need to push open the door. They saw that it was empty inside. The Stone of Light was destroyed, and there were only some traces of a fight left. Obviously, a fight had taken place here, but it ended very quickly, so there weren't many traces left. The Death Clan is gone. Elder Guang Yarrow must have sensed something was wrong, so he rushed over. Their faces were so gloomy that it was almost dripping water. Their hearts were in great pain. Not only did they lose the treasures, but even the Death Clan was gone, including Elder Guang Yarrow's life. This was undoubtedly a great loss. The price of cultivating a Grand Star Venerable was too high. Now, they had lost 2 Grand Star Venerables in a row, which was a great loss for the Mu clan. Who on earth sneaked in? He managed to escape our sight and kill Elder Guang Yarrow. I don't think there are more than 5 such experts on the Red Moon planet. But who do we have a grudge against? Why did we attract such a powerful enemy? Could it be the Death Clan? A chill ran down their spines, and they felt an incomparable chill. The Death Clan did have super experts, but they usually didn't show up. However, it was different for them to capture Kong Yeue. They might have sneaked in to save her. It's unlikely to be the Death Clan. We snatched her from the Foam Clan, so it should be the Foam Clan who sent someone here. But does the Foam clan have such a powerful existence? Wait. Let's check the energy fluctuations here first. Then, they heaved a sigh of relief after inspecting it. It's definitely not the Death Clan. The fighting aura isn't left by the Death Clan. If it's not the Death Clan, who could it be? Did the Foam clan really send someone here? No matter what, we must check it thoroughly. If the Foam clan didn't send someone here, it would be difficult. Not only did we offend the Foam clan, but we also lost a member of the Death Clan. It's a great loss. They felt like vomiting blood. They had paid a high price, but the person was gone. Wasn't it a great loss? They looked for traces quickly to see if they could find any clues. They even sealed off the outside so that not even a fly could slip away. However, it was meaningless. After killing the brilliant star venerate, Yi Tianyun used the teleportation divine stone to slip away. He had achieved his goal, so he didn't have to fight against the remaining brilliant star venerates. It was difficult and inconvenient, so it was better to leave. After being teleported outside, Yi Tianyun let Kong Yeyue out. In this space-time, Yi Yu's hair was a bit messy. A gust of wind revealed her beautiful face, and her pitch-black eyes were filled with shock. She believed it this time. She believed that Yi Tianyun had come to save her and hated the Mu clan. Yi Tianyun let her see what was happening outside on purpose. Normally, he wouldn't let her see what was happening outside. When Yi Tianyun saw the brilliant star venerate rushing over, he let her see the whole process. Chapter 2173. We escaped just like that. Kong Yeyue stared blankly at her surroundings. She didn't know what had happened, but they had escaped. After killing the glorious great star venerate, she saw a blur, and then she arrived in the outside world. It was obvious that this was not the Mu family's home. She couldn't figure out how she managed to escape from the Mu family so easily. Yes, we escaped. Since I could sneak in, I know how to escape. The price must be high, but it's worth it to kill a grand star venerate. Yi Tianyun smiled. Seeing that Kong Yeyue was not on guard against him, he felt this arrangement was right, and the effect was the best. He could make Kong Yeyue trust him completely, which was killing two birds with one stone. He had wanted to clean up the Mu family, and killing a grand star venerate was just a bonus. While he was thinking about how to make Kong Yeyue trust him, the glorious great star venerate happened to come in. Wasn't he helping him? Anyway, thank you very much, young master. By the way, I'm Kong Yeyue. May I know your name, young master? Kong Yeyue tidied up her hair and tied it behind her, revealing her beautiful face. Yi Tianyun was immune to this kind of beauty. Anyway, people with high cultivation would not look bad. At this stage, what mattered was not the appearance, but the heart. Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He was a grand star venerate, so Kong Yeyue should call him lord. However, she called him young master, which meant she was talking to him as an equal. It meant her status was not simple, and she must have seen many grand star venerates. But it made sense. The members of the Death Clan were all amazing, and they must have seen a lot of things. So it's young Master Yi. I will repay your great kindness. However, I have something to do now. If possible, I'll leave first. When things are settled, I will come back to you to repay you. When Kong Yeyue said these words, she still felt a little embarrassed. She had just saved her, and now she had to leave. What kind of repayment was this? As for what repayment was, only the heavens knew when it would happen. Therefore, she looked at Yi Tianyun's expression. After all, he was a grand star venerable who had saved her. The situation depends on Yi Tianyun's words. I wonder what urgent matter Miss Kong has. If it's possible, I can still help you. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. For her to be so anxious, it must be related to the Death Clan. If he helped out, he would definitely be able to establish a good relationship with the Death Clan. When the time came, it would be much easier to get the Death Clan's help. Kong Yeyue paused for a moment. Soon after, she did not think too much about it as she nodded her head and said, "Then I will have to trouble young Master Yi. I will definitely reward you handsomely." Kong Yeyue had already determined that Yi Tianyun was someone she could trust. Since Yi Tianyun was willing to help her, she could not let this opportunity slip by. It's no trouble at all. Everyone has their needs, Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. Everyone has their needs. Kong Yeyue was stunned. I'm definitely helping you because there's something I need your help with. Of course, if you help me save some people, I will give you an extra reward. I won't let you do it for nothing. Yi Tianyun directly put forward the request, but when the time comes, it cannot be implemented, it will be embarrassing. So, it's this matter. As long as their cultivation is not too high or they have already reincarnated, I can help to save them. Compared to saving me, the price is nothing. Kong Yeyue thought Yi Tianyun wanted to say something. This was what they were most familiar with. It would be easier for them to do such a thing. All right. Then, Miss Kong, what do you need me to do? Yi Tianyun asked directly. It's a little complicated. It's related to our death clan. Kong Yeyue looked around and said, let's talk as we walk. Time is tight. Yi Tianyun nodded and flew forward, listening to Kong Yeyue's explanation. Young Master Yi should know about our death clan, right? We have always been hidden from the world. If you want to find us, you can only find us through acquaintances, or if we come looking for you. Otherwise, it is impossible to find us. Kong Yeyue's face suddenly turned cold, and her tone was filled with killing intent. But one day, our situation changed. Suddenly, a group of experts came and seemed to know our situation. While our elders were not around, they directly killed their way in and captured many of our clansmen. At the same time, our death clan also fled. Could there be a mole? Yi Tianyun frowned. Impossible, there can't be a mole in our death clan. Kong Yeyue shook her head resolutely. Our situation is still very clear. There can't be a mole. At present, there is only one possibility, and that is someone who has a good relationship with us. This is really a careless friend. Yi Tianyun nodded. It is quite common to be stabbed by a so-called friend. No wonder Kong Yeyue didn't trust him at will. After such a thing happened, how could she trust others at will? It is estimated that if it is not necessary, she would not bring Yi Tianyun with her. She only trusted that Yi Tianyun was not a member of the Mujiao, but she did not completely trust him. To be able to become an old friend of the death clan, their relationship must be very good. It is really disappointing to be betrayed under such circumstances. But we don't know who it is. What we need to do now is to quickly find our clansmen, gather them first, and at the same time rescue our clansmen. Kong Yeyue thought for a while and said, Young Master Yi, you only need to help me find my clansmen. As for rescuing our clansmen, you don't need to help. I don't know which force you belong to, but if you rescue our clansmen, you will definitely become enemies with other families. Forget about that, so as not to bring danger to young Master Yi. Kong Yeyue was thinking for Yi Tianyun. If he helped to rescue his clansmen, he would definitely become enemies with other families and bring enemies to his force. It seems that Miss Kong was caught because of this. Yi Tianyun roughly knew what was going on. No wonder someone from the Death Clan was caught wandering outside. There was indeed a problem with the Death Clan. Otherwise, how could such a situation occur? Yes, otherwise, how would the world know where we are hiding? Kong Yeyue sighed and said, It is a little difficult for me to find them alone, so I need to rely on young Master Yi's help. I wonder if young Master Yi is willing to help. Chapter 2174. Kong Yeyue was taken aback. She had not expected Yi Tianyun to say something like that. After all, even though Yi Tianyun was a great star venerable, he was alone. Even if the other party could not recognize him, he would still be in great danger. If they were not careful, they would be surrounded and killed. At that time, he might die, and at the same time, his identity would be exposed. Then, the situation would become very serious. This would implicate their own faction, and they would be surrounded and attacked. The impact would be very bad. However, Yi Tianyun said this, as if he did not care about the big picture. Young Master Yi, thank you for your kindness. However, this will bring you and your faction grave consequences. I only hope that you can help us find some of our clansmen. We will take care of the rest. Kong Yeyue was very grateful to Yi Tianyun. Even though Yi Tianyun said he was here for her ability, she was still very grateful. After all, ability was ability. Many factions did not want to lose their subordinates for this ability. She had asked them for help to revive their subordinates. It was not worth it for more people to die for the sake of their abilities. Miss Kong, thank you for your reminder. I am very clear about the consequences. In any case, if the situation is not right, I will choose to back out. How about it? Yi Tianyun smiled. In fact, he did not want to back out. He wanted to do something big. However, Kong Yue was quite kind. It did not mean that she was extremely evil just because she had dark attribute energy. If he had to consider it, he would still consider it. From what he knew, the Death Clan was not bad by nature. However, he did not know the details. They were a hidden clan. If he delved deeper, he would not know much about them. All right. Kong Yue nodded and continued flying forward. At the same time, she said, let's go to the places where our companions are scattered. I can sense where they are. Yi Tianyun was a little surprised. He did not expect them to have this kind of ability to sense where their companions were. Kong Yue seemed to know what Yi Tianyun was thinking. She explained, this is a special ability of our Death Clan. We can sense each other's location. If it was too far away, or if it was sealed, it would be impossible to sense it. Basically, all I can sense now are the clansmen who are safe. As for the clansmen who have been captured, I'll have to slowly search for them. Kong Yue was not worried that this secret would be exposed. To her, this was not a secret. Moreover, Yi Tianyun had already helped them. If they were to randomly find a companion, how could they not at least have some explanation? I see. Yi Tianyun nodded in realization. Someone is coming, young Master Yi, let me hide. Kong Yue said hurriedly. Yi Tianyun did not say anything. He stretched out his hand and pulled Kong Yue into the space in his body. Sure enough, when she was in the space in his body, he saw a group of people rushing over. They were all star venerates, and the strongest was a star venerate. They seemed to be searching for something. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they only glanced at him for a while before moving to the side, not bothering with him. Along the way, they saw many cultivators. They could not look for trouble with everyone they saw. After they left, Kong Yue was released again. She had asked Yi Tianyun for help so that she could hide and not be discovered by others. These people should be searching for our Death Clan. The whole Red Moon planet is probably searching for our Death Clan. If they can catch one, it is one. If they have a good attitude, they will be treated better. If they are not. Kong Yue shook her head. She was treated poorly. These people are interested in your abilities. Your abilities are too tempting. If they can save their clansmen, they can only do this. Yi Tianyun shrugged. Not to mention them, even Yi Tianyun was interested in this. He was not that kind to save people for no reason. Unless the actions of that force really made him feel very displeased, he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. Yes, but our abilities are not invincible. It is not like we don't have to pay a price. The key is that their demands are endless. There are too many people who want to resurrect. We are not weak, but we can't do that. Kong Yue's eyes were cold as she recalled the past. In the past, there were forces that captured our clansmen and forced them to summon their souls back to us. Only when our clansmen were completely drained did they stop forcing us. Young Master Yi, how much do you know about our abilities? Kong Yue asked as she flew forward with Yi Tianyun. I don't know much. It is about the same as what most people know. I only know that you can help resurrect. Yi Tianyun said honestly. Yes, our abilities are basically like that. But who knows how high the price we have to pay? The more people we resurrect, the greater the impact on our cultivation and soul. Most importantly, if we summon too many souls, we will never be able to reincarnate after we die. We will disappear from this world forever. This is why our Death Clan has fewer and fewer people. This is the effect of excessive resurrection. The most ironic thing is that we can't summon the souls of our clansmen. Even if we can resurrect other races, we can't resurrect our clansmen. Kong Yue smiled bitterly. This was the most embarrassing part. Ordinary people thought that they could resurrect endlessly. It was impossible for their companions to die. They could summon them back if they died. Now it seemed that was not the case. Their own clansmen couldn't be resurrected. They could only watch helplessly as their companions died. Yi Tianyun fell silent. He knew that the price would not be low, but he didn't expect it to be so. After excessive resurrection, they would never be able to reincarnate. No matter what life it was, they would still die when they were born in this world. It was just a matter of time. After death, they would enter reincarnation. The Death Clan was different. After excessive resurrection, they would not be able to reincarnate. It meant that they would disappear forever. Your clansmen have become so few. Didn't you know the result before? Yi Tianyun asked. We knew it a long time ago. But in the war a long time ago, our Death Clan also paid a lot. Kong Yeua looked up at the dark starry sky and said lightly, that was the War of the Emperors. As the 5-color Emperor Dragon's divine generals, in order to win the war, we kept resurrecting the dead divine generals. In the end, our Death Clan kept disappearing. Chapter 2175. Yi Tianyun did not expect the Death Clan to be related to the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. He did not have the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's memories, but in theory, he was the same as the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. This meant that the Death Clan was related to him. It was the same as the Ghana Patriarch. They would follow the descendants of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon. Doesn't this mean that the Death Clan is my subordinate? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He had only wanted to build a good relationship with the Death Clan, but he had not expected it to change so quickly. They had become his subordinates. Of course, many years had passed, so he did not know the Death Clan's true thoughts. Perhaps they had too few clansmen and did not want to participate in any power struggles. No matter what, he did not want to reveal his identity. He wanted to help her find her clansmen first. Ding. You have successfully accepted the main quest Save the Undead Clan and take them under your command. Reward, 5 billion star energy, 10,000 good deeds, a super rare treasure, random, and 3 system evolution point. The main quest that popped up made Yi Tianyun's eyes light up. The main quest had finally appeared. After completing the main quest, there had been no corresponding quests. Now, a quest had finally appeared, and it was related to the Death Clan. It happened to coincide with his itinerary. Do you regret it? Yi Tianyun thought for a bit and decided to ask about the situation first. Regret? How could we regret it? We will always be the 5-colored Emperor Dragon's generals. Kong Yeue's expression became serious. Let's not talk about this. I can already sense our clansmen hiding nearby. Let's go and help them. Kong Yeue brought Yi Tianyun and flew forward. After a big circle, they finally arrived at the place where her clansmen were hiding, Star-Gathering City. This was a good city on planet Crimson Moon. There were many practitioners, so it was normal for the Death Clan to choose to hide here. The more people there were, the safer they would be. In the vast sea of people, it would be difficult to find them if they blended in. Kong Yeue's aura had already been concealed. On the surface, nothing could be seen. Even if someone tried to investigate, it would not be easy to find them. The fact that the Death Clan was able to hide for so long without being discovered meant that they definitely had their own methods. Now, Kong Yeue's method was not bad. Not to mention her aura, even her hair color had changed. All of a sudden, it was as if he had turned into another race. He couldn't recognize him at all. If it wasn't for the appraisal eyes, Yi Tianyun wouldn't have known that Kong Yeue was from the Death Clan. Your abilities are pretty good. Even I can't see through your disguises. How could you be caught like this? Yi Tianyun found it very strange. Based on this situation, even if they split up, it would not be easy to find them. Under normal circumstances, it's impossible to find them. However, they have a special method. Kong Yeue paused for a moment before continuing. They use the light stones that can restrain our attributes. As long as they are of a high enough grade, coupled with some treasures, they can easily be found when they cover a certain area. Kong Yeue didn't want to say it at first, but after thinking about it, it wasn't a secret anymore. If no one knew, she wouldn't have been caught. Light stones, so that's how it is. Yi Tianyun suddenly understood. He really didn't think of this. He didn't want to catch anyone, so he naturally wouldn't think too much about it. After thinking about it carefully, he knew how to get rid of it. Moreover, he had the appraisal eyes, so he was too lazy to think of such a method. Moreover, the coverage was very poor. To him, it was a failed method. It should be in this area. Let's go. Kong Yeyue continued to fly forward with Yi Tianyun. They didn't fly for long before they saw many cultivators in front of them. They didn't know what they were watching. At the same time, there were waves of energy fluctuations in front of them. It seemed like there was an intense battle going on. Not only that, Yi Tianyun also saw a light that covered a large area. Without a doubt, the Death Clan had been discovered. Oh no, our clansmen have been found. Kong Yeyue was anxious. She wanted to fly over quickly, but she was stopped by Yi Tianyun. Leave it to me. If you go out, won't your identity be exposed? You just need to contact that clansman and ask him to come to me. Don't attack me too. Yi Tianyun told her not to act rashly. He glanced over and found many star venerables fluctuations in front of them. For Kong Yeyue, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of them. So, he could deal with them, and he had to finish them quickly. If the Grand Star Venerables came to help, it would be bad. Okay. Kong Yeyue didn't waste time. She hid in the space inside Yi Tianyun's body right away. Yi Tianyun waved his hand, and a grey aura appeared on his face. No one could recognize him unless they were extremely powerful Grand Star Venerables. After concealing himself to a certain extent, he quickly flew forward and passed through the onlooking cultivators. Sure enough, the Death Clan was in front of him. However, there were two people from the Death Clan. Both of them were Star Venerables with high cultivation. They worked together to resist the attacks of many cultivators. It was obvious that they were from the same clan. They weren't in a hurry. They besieged the Death Clan from all directions. They wanted to fight steadily and surely. It seemed they were waiting for the Grand Star Venerables' reinforcements. As long as the Grand Star Venerables came, they would definitely succeed. It would be safer to escort them back. Every clan had some enemies, so they had to be on guard. If they were careless, they would be robbed. For example, the Mu clan had a grudge against the Feng clan. They had forcefully robbed the Feng clan of Kong Yeyue, who they had worked so hard for. Anyway, they already had a grudge against them, so they didn't mind offending them further. My friends, come back with us. We will treat you well. We won't mistreat you. The leader of the Star Venerables looked at the two Death Clan members with a smile. It was really a good thing to get two of them at once. Do you think we are fools? If we go back with you, we won't be able to come out again, Ding Xiangyue, the leader of the group, retorted coldly. At the same time, he resisted the attacks coming at him. Do you think you have any other choice? The leader of the Star Venerables had a gloomy look in his eyes. Like a smiling tiger, he said, if you go back with us, you will still have a chance to live. Otherwise, when we use force, you won't be so easy to deal with. They were determined to capture the Death Clan. They wouldn't let them go. Besides, even if they didn't capture them, other clans would come to capture them. The Death Clan was like a fat sheep. Once they appeared in the eyes of the world, they would be ruthlessly targeted. Chapter 2176. The Death Clan would never be let off. They would only be hunted down. Unless the Death Clan had a super strong expert to protect all clansmen, they would be hunted down forever. It was the same principle as weak forces. They would be exploited as long as they didn't have a strong expert to protect them. If they had a strong expert to protect them, they wouldn't be exploited, and other forces would offer them offerings. It was the same principle for the Death Clan. However, they were special in that they would be punished for their treasures. They had such a special ability, which meant they had a treasure mountain. Without a strong expert to protect them, they would be hunted down forever. A long time ago, the blood essence of the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan had always been the target of cultivators for the same reason. If they went back with the practitioners of those clans, they wouldn't be able to escape. They would be exploited until they died. If they didn't have any value, they would be killed. It was as simple as that. This was a cruel world. Without power, one could only wait for death. In that case, let's see whether you can stop us or not. Ding Xiangyue and the others gnashed their teeth and started to attack fiercely. However, even though they were from the Death Clan, their power was limited. Their cultivation was still low, and it would be difficult for them to break through. However, if they risked their lives, they would still have a chance. At least, they would have a chance before the Grand Star Venerables arrived. Surround them. The leader of the Star Venerables looked at Ding Xiangyue and the others disdainfully. The Death Clan was strong, but it was limited to resurrection. Although they were good at other things, they were outnumbered, so they had to surrender to them. However, in order to capture them in one piece, they had to be cowardly. They kept surrounding them and trapping them to death. Under the attack of so many Star Venerables, the range in which Ding Xiangyue and the others could move was shrinking. Soon, it became a small area. If it went on like this, they would be captured. Ding Xiangyue and the others were unwilling to accept this. However, no matter how they attacked, they couldn't resist the encirclement of so many Star Venerables. If it goes on like this, we will be captured. Are we going to be captured alive? Elder Sister Ding, I will sacrifice myself so that you can escape. A young man next to her had a resolute look in his eyes. There was a fierce look in his eyes. No. Ding Xiangyue shouted hurriedly, if you sacrifice yourself, you will die. We've been captured, but if the elders return, they can still save us. God knows what will happen in the future. The elders have been missing for so long. They might have been surrounded. If the two of us are captured, by the time the elders come to save us, we'll probably be dead. Hong Yuan shook his head as a terrifying deathly aura emerged from his body. It was as if he was about to unleash some ultimate technique. Hong, you can't. Ding Xiangyue wanted to stop Hong Yuan, but the net of light enveloping them prevented her from doing so. Big Sister Ding, you have to find the princess. Hong Yuan smiled slightly. Just as he was about to attack, a figure suddenly appeared in front of the two of them. The figure tore the net of light apart and grabbed both of them. Go. Before anyone could see the figure clearly, he had already taken the person away. It's a great Star Venerable. Ding Xiangyue and the others' hearts sank. When they sensed the person who had caught them, they felt even more despair. How could he escape now? This was especially so for Hong Yuan. Now, even if he sacrificed himself, he wouldn't be able to escape with the others. There was no way to resist the power of a Grand Star Venerate. What? The pupils of the leading Star Venerable shrank. Their encirclement net had been torn apart easily like a piece of paper. When he came to himself, he shouted angrily, "Don't go." They exerted their killing moves right away. The grabbing attack turned into an offensive formation. It turned into a giant sharp arrow that pierced through the figure. The sharp arrow, which could pierce through the sky, caught up with the figure in the blink of an eye. However, the figure slapped the arrow back with a backhand. The sharp arrow turned in the air and whizzed toward the Star Venerates. Before they could react, several Star Venerates were pierced through and nailed to the ground. They died right away. It's a great Star Venerable. When the cultivators in the surroundings sensed that energy fluctuation, they all gasped. Although it was only a slight fluctuation, it was definitely the energy of a great Star Venerable. They hadn't expected it to be a great Star Venerable who had come to capture them. Damn it! Where did this great Star Venerable come from? He got here before us. They shouted angrily. Not only had their companions died, but they had also lost 2 members of the Death Clan. They were both angry and unwilling to accept this outcome. They had been worried that a great Star Venerable would come to capture them. They hadn't expected it to be true. A great Star Venerable had really come to capture them. They didn't even know what that great Star Venerable looked like. They could only watch him escape. Just when they thought that they could only watch helplessly as they were snatched away, a thick wall of light suddenly appeared in the distant void, sealing off the surroundings and forcibly trapping the people inside. It's Elder Arui. When they saw this familiar attack, they shouted in pleasant surprise. Finally, the elder they had been waiting for had come to support them. It was their clan's Elder Arui, who was in the intermediate stage of the Grand Star Venerable realm. He had rushed over as soon as he had received the request for support. Another great Star Venerable has come. It seems he isn't one of us. If they fight each other, we might be able to escape. Hong Yuan and the others were delighted. They had seen two enemies. If both sides ended up injured, they might have a chance to take advantage of it. Calm down. He's the one who saved us. Let's follow his power and come in. A familiar voice reached their ears. They were taken aback, but they didn't think much about it. They followed Yi Tianyun's power and were taken into the space within their bodies. When they entered and saw Kong Yeyue, they were overjoyed. It's senior sister Kong. Okay. Let's get out of here first. Kong Yeyue nodded. I didn't expect it to be one of us. We thought it would be a dog-eat-dog fight. But it won't be easy to escape now. A great star venerable has come. It won't be easy to leave. Ding Xiangyue and the others started to worry. Don't worry. He can take us out of here. Kong Yeyue was confident in Yi Tianyun. She had experienced Yi Tianyun's power and knew what he was capable of. Even if they couldn't kill him, they could at least escape. Yi Tianyun was outside. Facing Great Star Venerable Erui, who had intercepted him, he said calmly, "What do you mean?" Chapter 2177. Great Star Venerator Rui was straightforward. Even if his opponent was a Great Star Venerate, he would not care. He would not show mercy to anyone who tried to snatch his people. Normally, he would be polite. But it was different now. This was a crucial moment. If the Death Clan was strong enough, they could even revive their Great Star Venerates. That would be great news. Most clans captured the Death Clan to save Great Star Venerates, or even late-stage Star Venerates. Or it could be said that it was a super genius who had fallen. These were all possibilities. Especially super geniuses who died at a young age. They were assassinated or died in accidents. They could have reached the Great Star Venerate level, but they died like that. How could they not feel pity? But it was different now. If the Death Clan could save those geniuses, they would be able to recover their losses. Those geniuses were all level 6 celestial materializations. With a large amount of resources, they would definitely become Great Star Venerates. That was why they wanted to capture the Death Clan so crazily. They did not have to revive Great Star Venerates. After all, some members of the Death Clan were not strong enough and could only revive those with lower cultivation. Those with higher cultivation would not be able to do anything. Your people didn't capture the Death Clan. I should be the one who captured them. Are you trying to snatch them? Yi Tianyun stopped and observed Great Star Venerate At the same time, he looked around to see if there were any helpers. You don't even dare show your face. You're a Great Star Venerate. You've lived like a dog. Great Star Venerator mocked him. Then, he said, you're afraid of offending our faction? If you know what's good for you, just show your face. I won't argue with you. Great Star Venerate was not afraid of Yi Tianyun, but he had achieved his goal. Fighting a Great Star Venerate head-on was not a good choice. Although Yi Tianyun was only in the early stage of Great Star Venerate, who knew if there was someone else behind him? You must have misunderstood something. I'm not afraid of offending you. I just don't want to show my face. If I show my face and get discovered, you'll run away the moment you see me. That won't be fun. Yi Tianyun laughed and said, to be precise, all the forces. How arrogant. I've seen many Great Star Venerables, but I've never seen one as arrogant as you. Great Star Venerable Rhea sneered. Then show me how strong you are. Great Star Venerate Rhea had finished storing up power long ago. He had said so much just to set up defenses in the surroundings so that he could trap Yi Tianyun there and prevent him from escaping. The next second, a level 6 Star Dharma idol appeared behind Great Star Venerable Rhea, 8-armed Divine Ape. The huge 8-armed Divine Ape had 8 arms, and it instantly fused with Great Star Venerate Rhea. It had 8 extra arms, and each of them held a different weapon. It looked very ferocious. Since he could cultivate to the level of a Grand Star Venerable, his celestial dharmic body would not be weak. It would definitely be at the 6th level. A 5th-grade Star Dharma idol was nothing in this place. 33 blocks of astral power emerged above his head and enveloped the area. So, it's a monkey. Quite impressive. Yi Tianyun said coldly, you didn't degenerate, yet you came out to fight. Then go back and cultivate properly. The next moment, Yi Tianyun also exerted all his power. 4 figures quickly appeared behind him, but he did not use the 7-colored Emperor Dragon Star Dharma idol. If he used the 7-colored Emperor Dragon, covering his face would be meaningless. Such a special Star Dharma idol could be easily found out with a little investigation. There was no point in covering his face. Although he could not use the 7-colored Emperor Dragon Star Dharma idol, he could use other Star Dharma idols. As a level 4 Star Dharma idol, he could use 4 kinds of Star Dharma idols. Not only could he use 4 kinds of Star Dharma idols, but he could also devour the astral power of 4 people. However, there was only one person in front of him, so he would still devour it. Even if he did not use his unique Star Dharma idol, he could still devour it. A huge figure appeared in the air and bit down heavily. It devoured 1/3 of Great Star Venerate Rias' astral power. This meant that he had devoured 11% of the 33 cubic meters of astral power. Then, he converted all of it into astral power that he could use. That was the key. He could not convert it completely before, mainly because the astral power level was too high in the later stages, so the amount provided was too much. He did not use his unique Star Dharma idol now, which meant that he could not use astral power. He could only use astral power if he used his Star Dharma idol. Otherwise, he would not have been able to suppress Mu Yangsu. He would have crushed her Star Dharma idol to death, so that she could not even release astral power. In order to hide his Star Dharma idol now, he could only use this move. Even if he could use other Star Dharma idols, he could not use astral power. That was his biggest weakness. His real Star Dharma idol was the 7-colored Emperor Dragon. No matter how many others he had, they could only be used for effects. Fortunately, all 4 Star Dharma idols had additional effects. For example, the Starlight Deity and other Star Dharma idols with similar effects were all used at once. Together with the Sky Burning Suit, the effect was to soar to 25 points of astral power. When he did not use his Star Dharma idol, he was even stronger than Great Elder Riel when he used his Star Dharma idol. What ability is this? Great Star Venerable Riel was still shocked by Yi Tianyun's ability. A large portion of his astral power disappeared inexplicably, which greatly weakened his power. Yi Tianyun did not bother to explain anything. He went up to Great Star Venerable Riel immediately. 4 Star Dharma idols flickered behind him, making it hard for people to figure them out. In this state, it confused them even more. They could not see what Star Dharma idol it was, so it was difficult for them to recognize who it was. Some cultivators were disdainful of Yi Tianyun covering his face. They thought it was stupid. Unless he did not use his Star Dharma idol, he would be easily recognized as long as he used his Star Dharma idol. Were there many Great Star Venerables with level 6 Star Dharma idols on planet Red Moon? As long as they did not hide in the deep mountains and forests, they would be easily recognized. Now it seemed that they were wrong. His Star Dharma idol seemed a bit strange. It seemed like it had erupted, but it also seemed like it had not completely erupted yet. They were all dumbfounded. Radiant subduing killing fist. Yi Tianyun brandished his fist and punched down heavily. The power of his crazy mode was quickly stacked, and its might increased greatly. He punched at Great Star Venerable Riel, who had turned into an 8-armed divine ape. Dawn. Chapter 2178. Everyone was shocked to see Great Star Venerate Ria being sent flying. He was defeated just like that. His opponent didn't use the Star Dharmic aspect, did he? That's not right. If he doesn't use the Star Dharmic aspect, how can he use stellar power? But he can't use stellar power so little. He's a Great Star Venerate, after all. His stellar power can't be so little. What's going on? I can't see the Star Dharmic aspect either. Is he hiding it? There's such a method. Hiding the Star Dharmic aspect and using stellar power at the same time? What kind of ability is this? The cultivators in the surroundings discussed it. They had never seen such a heaven-defying move. Under normal circumstances, using stellar power would expose one's identity. This was inevitable, and no one could change it. However, Yi Tianyun had overturned their previous thinking. He could really use stellar power while hiding the Star Dharmic aspect. Perhaps he could only use a small portion of his power because he was hiding it. There were gains and losses. What they did not know was that Yi Tianyun had not used the star dharmic aspect at all. He had purely used the star dharmic aspects of others. At the same time, Great Star Venerate Rhea fell to the ground. There was a large dent in his body, which had been caused by Yi Tianyun's punch. Even though he had a strong body, Great Star Venerate Rhea was still heavily injured by the powerful force. What great power! Great Star Venerate Rhea's face turned pale. He had not expected his opponent to have so many tricks up his sleeve. More importantly, it seemed like his opponent had not used the star dharmic aspect. This meant that he had been underestimated. He had not even used the star dharmic aspect. How could he not be underestimating him? Yi Tianyun did not wait for him to catch his breath. He charged up to him and looked down at him. He said calmly, "Now, do I have the right to be arrogant?" Be ****. Great Star Venerate Rhea would not compromise. After he shouted furiously, he quickly gathered the power in his body and wanted to use it. Yi Tianyun would not give him the chance to do so. He had not rushed over to talk to him, but to finish him off. Before Great Star Venerable Rhea bounced up, he had already drawn his blade and thrust it down heavily. It easily penetrated Great Star Venerable Rhea's defense and nailed him to the ground. This weapon was naturally the Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber. He was not afraid of being recognized. After all, this was the first time this weapon was displayed here. Even if it was seen, no one would know what weapon it was. Great Star Venerate Rhea felt a piercing pain in his soul as the blade pierced through him. He felt a terrifying soul power quickly suppressing him and wreaking havoc on his soul. All of a sudden, he felt that his consciousness was about to disappear. When one's consciousness disappeared, it meant that they would forever disappear from this world. No. I admit defeat. Great Star Venerable Rhea did not care about his reputation and started begging for mercy. He did not want to die there. Admit defeat. I'm sorry, but this isn't an ordinary battle. This is a battle to the death. The Long Moon Azure Dragon Saber in Yi Tianyun's hand spun quickly. With his soul bloodline fully activated, a wave of power surged forward and crushed Great Star Venerable Rhea's consciousness. At the same time, it also crushed Great Star Venerable Rhea's body. When it was time to be ruthless, Yi Tianyun would not show mercy. Great Star Venerable Rhea's soul was left behind. However, Great Star Venerable Rhea's consciousness was no longer in this soul. It was just a mass of energy. He would not let go of a Great Star Venerable's soul. It would be a major material for puppets in the future. Ding! Successfully killed Great Star Venerable Rhea. Obtained 1 billion star energy points and 1,000 slaughter points. Obtained 8-armed Divine Ape Star Dharmic Aspect, Level 6, Level 4, 8-armed Divine Ape Bloodline, 8-armed limbs, rare. 8-armed limbs, additional galaxy-grade equipment that can be equipped. It is equivalent to having 8 more arms and can control various weapons. At the same time, it can be forged to increase their power. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up when he saw the 8-armed limbs. He had not expected such a treasure to drop. This way, he would be able to equip it and fight against enemies in the future. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. After equipping the 8-armed limbs, he would have 10 hands. After killing Great Star Venerable Rhea, Yi Tianyun quickly left, leaving behind a group of dumbfounded cultivators. Especially those from the same clan as Great Star Venerable Rhea. They were frozen in the air. Their elder had died. They had thought they could save the situation, but they had not expected him to die. This made them feel like they had been struck by lightning. Despair filled their hearts. The other cultivators had witnessed the Great Star Venerable's death. It had happened so quickly that they had not been able to react. Logically speaking, a battle between Great Star Venerables should not have been settled so easily. It should have taken a long time. No one had expected it to end so quickly. It had been an overwhelming victory. Thinking back to what Yi Tianyun had said, maybe he had masked not because he did not dare to show his face, but because he did not want those clans to run away when they saw him. Given his strength, why would he need to run? Why would he worry about making trouble? Anyone who saw him would run away. In the space inside Yi Tianyun's body, Kong Yeyue and the others were also dumbfounded. He had not even used the Star Dharma Laksana, and he had already killed his opponent. How did he do it? Senior Sister Kong, your helper is a bit fierce. This. Kong Yeyue said embarrassedly, I did not expect this. Isn't he the helper you invited? You don't know? Ding Xiangyue and the others were shocked. They had thought Kong Yeyue was familiar with Yi Tianyun. It's a long story. I'll explain it to you. Kong Yeyue told them the general story of how she was rescued, which really gave Ding Xiangyue and the others a fright. They didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. It just so happened that Yi Tianyun had a grudge against the Mu clan, so he saved Kong Yeyue. Otherwise, she would have been trapped inside. That's the gist of it. I asked him to help me find my companions. He was the first to sense you too, so he came to look for you. Who knew that you would be surrounded, so he helped, Kong Yeyue said. Now, we really owe him a big favor. Ding Xiangyue thought for a while and said, I wonder how we can repay him. Yes, he asked us to help him resurrect his companions as a way to repay him. But this is far from enough. Kong Yeyue shook her head and smiled bitterly. As long as he can help us and save our clansmen, we will definitely repay him, Hong Yuan said confidently. We, the Death Clan, have a strong foundation. We can give him whatever he wants. Little Hong, you're thinking too simply. There are some things that can't be resolved with ordinary repayment, Kong Yeyue murmured. As long as he can find the princess, I am willing to be his slave for the rest of my life. I will do whatever he asks of me. Hong Yuan gritted his teeth and said, this is how I repay him. Chapter 2179. Yi Tianyun quickly retreated from the outside, so he naturally heard the conversation in the space inside his body. It wasn't that he wanted to eavesdrop, but it was impossible for him not to know what they were talking about in the space inside his body, unless he deliberately isolated it. This kid is a little interesting. Yi Tianyun smiled. He felt that Hong Yuan had a unique personality, and his name was familiar. He guessed that his name was similar to some people in the mortal world. There were so many cultivators, so it was normal for their names to be similar. Therefore, he had a deeper impression of Hong Yuan. He was absolutely genuine and extremely loyal to the Death Clan. No wonder Kong Yeyue said that there would be no traitors in the Death Clan. With their personalities, there wouldn't be any traitors. They were willing to sacrifice themselves at any time. This spirit alone was enough to prove that they were extremely united. While they were discussing, Yi Tianyun quickly found a safe place to land and let them out. Thank you for saving us, Lord. Once Ding Xiangyue and the others were released, they were extremely grateful to Yi Tianyun. They didn't call him young Master Yi like Kong Yeyue did. You're welcome. This is what Miss Kong asked me to do. I have completed her task, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This is different. No matter what, we have to thank you for saving our lives. If it weren't for you, both of us would have been captured. Ding Xiangyue and the others shook their heads. They felt that Yi Tianyun was being modest. Perhaps it was because they wanted what they needed, but who could save them like Yi Tianyun? The others were forced to do so. He could just capture them and resurrect them. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Just the way he treated them was enough to win their respect. Let's put this aside for now. Where should we go to rescue them? Let's gather your people first. If we delay any longer, your people might be captured by other forces like today. Yi Tianyun's expression was solemn. The situation was quite urgent. He didn't reveal his identity. As an assistant, he would help them first. He wanted to see what the real situation of the Death Clan was now. Even though Zhongxian had learned part of the situation from Kong Yeyue, it was better to take a look at the situation of the entire Death Clan first. Kong Yeyue and the rest nodded in agreement. They were also very anxious, but no matter how anxious they were, they couldn't forget to thank Yi Tianyun. If they were in too much of a hurry, it would be rude to Yi Tianyun. All right, let's head to the hiding place of the other clansmen. Kong Yeyue didn't waste any more time. She immediately flew forward with Yi Tianyun. She would talk about her gratitude after everything was over. Right now, they were really anxious and couldn't afford to waste a single moment. Yi Tianyun kept them into the space within his body. He would lead the way, and Kong Yeyue would just have to point the way. This way, they would travel much faster. Previously, Kong Yeyue led them personally, mainly because she wasn't that familiar with Yi Tianyun, so she felt a little embarrassed to hide in his space. Then, under Kong Yeyue's guidance, they quickly searched for the Death Clan. The whole process was very smooth. They could easily find many members of the Death Clan. Not every member of the Death Clan was found like Ding Xiangyue and the others. It depended on the situation, and even more so on luck. It couldn't be helped that they happened to be found. As they slowly searched, the number of members of the Death Clan increased. Soon, there were more than 50 of them. According to their understanding, there were only a few hundred members of the Death Clan. Right now, they had only found a small part of them. The reason why they found all of them was that they couldn't sense the traces of the other members of the Death Clan. Without a doubt, the Death Clan wasn't dead, nor did they disappear. They were just imprisoned, so they couldn't sense them. These families all knew the ability of the Death Clan. They knew that they could sense each other's location. Therefore, the best way was to imprison them. Of course, even if they didn't have the ability to sense each other, they would still imprison them to prevent other experts from finding them. On the way, they encountered some members of the Death Clan who were surrounded. Some were even escorted back to their families. These people were easily saved by Yi Tianyun. Sometimes, Yi Tianyun just grabbed them and left. He didn't want to waste time with them anymore. No, I can't sense the other members of the Death Clan for the time being. Kong Yeyue tried to sense carefully. After carefully sensing, she didn't find any similar fluctuations. The princess, we still can't find the princess. Has the princess really been taken away? Hong Yuan carefully checked the surrounding members of the Death Clan, but he didn't find any trace of the princess. They were most worried about the princess's situation. I'm afraid that's the case. Kong Yeyue's expression was solemn. This was the only situation at the moment. What should we do? We've lost all information. If we can't find the princess, we'll be in trouble. They all looked like they were about to cry. They thought that the princess would be able to escape successfully. Now, it seemed that this wasn't the case at all. Your princess can contact the elders of the Death Clan? Yi Tianyun raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully. Not really, but the princess can open the door of death. If she is captured and forced to open the door of death, it will be terrible. Kong Yeyue shook her head and said, by then, not only will the princess die, even the world will be in chaos because of this. Maybe they won't force your princess to open the door of soul? Yi Tianyun said. No, I've thought about it for a long time these days. I feel that they are really here for the door of soul. After thinking about it, if the other party wants to resurrect their own people, they can just capture one or two of them, or ask some people to come over and pay a price. Now, they are trying to disperse the Death Clan. It's possible that they are here for the door of death. Kong Yeyue's expression became serious. You may not know what the door of death represents. There are countless souls in it. If they are released at will, the world will be in chaos. Don't think that they can be resurrected just because they are released. That's impossible. These disorderly souls will turn into vengeful spirits. They can't be resurrected even if they want to. I don't know why they are doing this. Maybe it's for some special purpose. Kong Yeyue didn't have many deductions, so she couldn't guess what the other party was really thinking. The door of death, Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This thing sounds so familiar. Isn't it the door of death in my inventory? Could it be that this door of death is for me to go to the area where the princess can go? No wonder she said it was dangerous. There are so many terrifying souls, how can it not be dangerous? Chapter 2180. The Door of Death. This was considered a direct contact. It seemed like his tools also existed here, and could be activated as well. However, he didn't need the special ability of the princess of the Death Clan to forcefully open the door. It was undeniably a heaven-defying ability. Is only your princess able to open the door of death? Yi Tianyun asked. Yes, but all of us can contact the door of death. We can't open it, but it's not a problem to just contact it. Otherwise, we can't revive our souls, Kong Yeyue answered honestly. This wasn't a big secret, so there was nothing to hide. Speaking of which, you have the holy body of darkness, but you're not a princess. I thought you were a princess when I saw you before. Yi Tianyun was quite curious. Kong Yeyue's body was so heaven-defying, but she wasn't a princess. Kong Yeyue fell silent and didn't explain anything. You don't know about this benefactor. Actually, Senior Kong can be a princess, but there's only one princess. However, the princess is Senior Kong's elder sister, so it's very normal for them to have a similar body type, Hong Yuan added. The princess is your elder sister. Yi Tianyun was a little confused. Logically speaking, both of them were princesses. It seemed like the title of princess was the same as the saintess. There was only one saintess, and she was the symbol of a clan. If Kong Yeyue was born later, she wouldn't be able to become a princess. However, as long as the princess abdicated, Kong Yeyue would definitely be able to take the throne. Yes, she's my elder sister. However, I don't have the ability to open the door of death, which is why I can't become a princess. Kong Yeyue shook her head and sighed. She wasn't jealous of her elder sister, but she felt that it was a pity that she didn't have the ability. So that's what happened. I thought that only a princess could have the ability to open the door of death. It seems like how many people can open it? Yi Tianyun asked. Indeed, only a princess can open it. However, in history, there have been 2 clansmen who could open the door of death. It can be said that becoming a princess will definitely open the door to death, Kong Yeyue explained. Looks like we really have to find your princess as soon as possible. Otherwise, if something happens, there'll be nothing we can do. Yi Tianyun nodded and felt that the situation was indeed quite serious. If they really opened the gate of death and allowed a large number of souls to come out, it might really bring disaster to the world. But now, we don't have the slightest clue. We can only find out by investigating some information. For example, find out which force has captured the Death Clan. That way, we might have a chance to find them. The Death Clan had been imprisoned, so it was extremely difficult to find them. They could only search for information. As long as they knew which faction had captured the Death Clan, they would be able to head over to rescue them. Even if the one they rescued wasn't the princess, they were still their own clansmen. This method was rather old-fashioned, but it was the only way at the moment. If the other party was extremely secretive, then there was nothing he could do. This is indeed a way, but the efficiency is too low. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Yes, but there's no other way. We don't have any other way. Kong Yeyue and the others were all in despair. After going around in circles, it felt like they were still at the starting point. Yi Tianyun nodded. That was true. At the same time, he was thinking about how to increase the efficiency. Thinking about it carefully, there really wasn't any. He wanted to use the lucky aura to find them, but the efficiency was also very low. He couldn't really find them just by flying around. After all, the area here was too big. It wasn't that easy to find them. The focus of the lucky aura was to go to a certain area and use it to find them. Like a headless fly, it would probably be difficult to find them. Lucky draw. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He remembered that he had accumulated 10,000 good and evil points, but he hadn't used it yet. Using this, he might be able to draw something related. Especially with the lucky aura, it would be even easier to use. Wait a minute. Let me think about it. Yi Tianyun sat down and started to check the good and evil point system. He saw that his good and evil points had already reached more than 12,000. He had killed so many strong people and got a lot of kill points. He had accumulated more than 12,000 kill points. This meant that he could draw the lottery once. The reward of 10,000 kill points would be even more amazing. However, it was a bit of a loss to use it to find people. But now that things had come to this, he couldn't care less. The Death Clan would be his subordinate force in the future. It was necessary to make them whole again. If he helped them find them, he would be able to win more favorability points. People looked at each other. They didn't know what Yi Tianyun wanted to do. Why did he suddenly sit down and say he needed to think about it? Didn't he know the situation was urgent and they needed to act quickly? Everyone looked at Kong Yeyue. Kong Yeyue shook her head. She didn't want to move and just listened to Yi Tianyun. Their cultivations weren't high. They were all-star venerables. If they moved carelessly, they would be caught together. So, they had to rely on Yi Tianyun for the time being. Yi Tianyun started the lottery. After activating the lucky aura, he started the lottery immediately. Ding. Are you sure you want to use 10,000 good and evil points to activate the second level of the lottery? The system's voice asked. Yes. Yi Tianyun confirmed in his heart. Ding. 10,000 good and evil points are deducted. Lottery starts. With a pleasant sound, it started to flicker quickly. After flickering many times, the light finally dissipated. Then something popped out and appeared in front of Yi Tianyun. It was a divine skill. It's a divine skill. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. As long as it was a divine skill, it couldn't be bad. Shortly after, he opened the treasure, and a line of words entered his eyes, causing him to be slightly stunned. Super Appraisal Eye. Super Appraisal Eye. It can greatly strengthen the appraisal eyes effect. It can also find people. No matter how far they are, as long as you provide a name or blood, you can easily find their location. It can ignore all restrictions. At the same time, it can find spiritual herbs and materials. You can find their location by providing a name. Not bad.